Welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, and other worldly beings. Man, I don't know if you've ever done that, but a little bit of saliva will slide down your throat and choke you. But yeah, that just happened to me. So sorry for that interruption. Yeah, happy spring break to everyone. If you are celebrating spring break, we are on spring break here in my part of the world. So uh, a nice week of relaxation is upon us, and that's going to be amazing, I must say. But as we as we do, let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess, TessaTNT, and I am broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I really missed you guys last weekend. I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to um, get a show up and going for you or even do anything in the week after because, like I said, it was the week before spring break and there's parent teacher conferences and presentations and all kinds of other things that you have to do at your kids' schools to move on to spring break and get ready for the last quarter. And I can't believe it is the last quarter. That's insane to me. Excuse me. But yes, what an honor to have you here tonight to share with me some trippy TikToks. So I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. I haven't watched TikToks since last time we did this. I have some messages over there from my goyles, but have not got to those yet. But yeah, if you want to listen in your free time or watch any videos that I've done in the past in your free time, feel free to mosey on over to Spreaker.com or any other place that you may listen to your broadcasts or podcasts. And also, if you don't mind, go on over to YouTube, like any video that you've watched or listened to, and please subscribe. That way, next time I have an episode come out, you'll be known, you'll be let known that it's going on, and hopefully you can partake at that point or whenever you get around to it. Excuse me. All right, so I got those TikToks pulled up here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do this one. All right. I almost pressed the wrong button again. And this is looking sad. I hope everything's all right with her papa.
Grandpa the day before yesterday, my papa, and it hurt so bad. I lost my grandpa the day before yesterday, my papa, and it hurt so bad. I keep thinking about the last thing that he said to me, which was he was tired. He didn't want to be here anymore. He missed my grandma, and he just wanted to hold my grandma again.
He loved us, and of course he did, but he loved her more, and he wanted to be back with her, and he just didn't want to live without her. He got sick recently and didn't even want to go to the hospital. He said he was ready to go. It's been nearly 10 years since she died, and he don't want to do it anymore. My grandparents absolutely loved each other. They were deeply connected, but they weren't each other's first relationships. They were married before they got together in the 70s. My grandmother was married to my biological grandfather, who was not the best person in the world. They had 4 kids, and my papa was married to his first wife, and they were all friends. A few years later, my biological grandfather was murdered during a poker game by one of our relatives. Around the same time, Papa's wife was divorcing him, so him and Grandma started dating, and within a few months, they moved in together. They both knew very quickly what they wanted, and that was to be with each other.
I think they had that deep connection because they were already friends by the time they got together. They had already loved each other.
He raised her kids like they were his own. They had a child together, and he wasn't a stepfather. He was their father.
They didn't lie, cheat, fight, and do all that stuff. Oh no. My grandma knew when my papa left that house, she didn't have to worry about him even looking at another woman because he only had eyes for her. Every morning was the same, weekend or not. My grandma got up at 4:30. She made breakfast. She got my papa's clothes out, had his socks laying on the heater so they would be warm when he put them on. She packed his cooler, his lunchbox. All he had to do was pick up his stuff and walk out the door. He would forget to take his medicine, and my grandma would lay it out 4 or 5 different times. Your medicine's on the sink, your medicine's on the counter. She'd follow that man all around the house trying to make sure he took his pill. But he was deserving of that treatment because he was so good to my grandmother. He never put his hands on her. I think I only heard him raise his voice to her one time throughout our entire life. He would never disrespect my grandmother. And same thing with her. My papa had a real thick country accent, so he talked like this, real slow. Papa always made his own homemade shine. He taught me how to make it too. But every time he cracked the lid on one of them jars, he'd go, shh. Whoo, white lightning. And then he'd take a big swig, and it was so funny because he'd look at the dog and say, that peeled the skin off my gums, old girl. That white lightning ain't nothing to mess with. He was out in the yard drinking a little too much moonshine. Grandma would say, Albert, get up here to the house and get in bed. He'd be like a little kid walking up to the house with his head down. One time we were carrying sugar out to the still, and we walked up on a water moccasin, and my cousin started poking at it, and my papa reached down and picked the snake up by its head and said, don't mess with that snake right there, son. That snake will send your ass to the boneyard. I was a kid, Papa would call me and my cousin down from our room and say, are y'all ready to watch our Sunday evening movie? And then we watch movies like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Papa would get into it, son. He'd go, how do you reckon that little man flies around on that bicycle like that? Every day he fell asleep to John-Claude Van Damme or Walker, Texas Ranger, and he'd say, you can't mess with old Chuck Norris. That's a bad fella right there. And when I tell you he loved my grandma, Papa never spanked. If grandma didn't feel good, Papa would tell everybody, hey, y'all need to get in there, sit down somewhere and be quiet. Grandma's having a spell. He'd keep going in the bedroom, checking on her, and eventually she'd say, all right, leave me alone, old man. And then he'd go outside and piddle around. They just loved each other. The chemistry they had, it was amazing. They were both very kind-hearted and trusting. You know, we used to call my grandmother the community caregiver because she would drive around picking everybody up, taking them to their doctor's appointments, picking up their medicines, helping them get groceries, carrying them to town. She always took care of everybody. They were very giving people, and because they were always fishing and had a big garden, if they had fish, you had fish. If they picked corn, you had corn. If you went up there, the first thing Grandma would say is, did you eat today? You got something to eat? Y'all got groceries at home? Or Papa would say, hey, we caught a mess of fish. You want to take some home with you? They believed in feeding everybody, whether they knew you or not. And every Sunday, like clockwork, we had Sunday dinner at Grandma's house. Of course, when Grandma got sick, the families gradually started breaking apart. And losing Grandma destroyed my Papa. He hadn't been the same since she passed. When she died, there were no more Sunday dinners or family reunions. Grandma held this family together for years, and once she was gone, everything changed. That's what I miss so much about my childhood and my early adult years was having that type of family and community. That's just the biggest part of my childhood and upbringing that really helped me turn out how I am today. The reason I make story times, my grandpa was a big storyteller, and as a kid, they both would tell me stories about things they seen, witnessed, and experienced. It was their house that was haunted that I grew up in. They influenced me so much to be a better person, and it wasn't until I was older that I realized just how much of an impact they had on me. I can still see my grandparents sitting at their eating table, drinking coffee, smoking a doobie, eating salmon patties, collard greens, and cornbread, and just, talking about what they did that day. I want to take this time to say I love my grandparents, and I thank both of them for being there for me, loving me, and raising me the way they did. I hope they are finally together again, sitting on the front porch, hand in hand, playing the guitar, singing. So in honor of my grandparents, my next story time is going to be about them and something we went through when I was a kid. So I hope you stick around because it's wild.
Had people who I know are in the know, and I've mentioned this before, and one of them told me the truth is indigestible. It's not something that that we would be able to fully grasp or entertain, and that it's like, it would be like telling somebody something that they can't do anything about, and they don't know what the repercussions of that would be. It's so great. It's so world changing and transformational, and maybe not in a good way, so.
I mean, what could be so jarring? What could be so disruptive? I mean, bless you.
Thank you.
Like the idea that we're being visited by another advanced intelligence that's more advanced than us. I mean, do you think, or is it something else?
I think it's much deeper.
So this Uber driver mostly drives night shift. Last week, picked up an older gentleman around 11 p.m. He got in and he said, I need you to drive me to 5 places. I'll pay you $500 cash, but you can't ask why until we're done. Handed the driver $500. First stop, a house in the suburbs. He sat in the car, stared at it for 10 minutes, silently crying, and then, okay, next one. So he drove. Second stop, elementary school. Empty, dark, the guy gets out, walked around the playground. He sat on a swing and he stayed there for 20 minutes. Came back to the car and said, I taught here for 43 years. Best job I ever had. Third stop, diner. He went inside, ordered coffee, sat alone in a booth and didn't drink it. Just sat, looking around. 15 minutes, comes back. My wife and I had our first date here, 1967. Fourth stop, cemetery. He got out at the cemetery. He walked to a grave and he stood there, just talking to it, and the driver couldn't hear what he was saying. 30 minutes, though, and he came back, and when he came back, his eyes were red. My wife, 3 years today. Fifth stop, hospital. The driver is asked to wait, and then, this is the last one. Now I'll tell you why. I have stage 4 cancer. Weeks left, maybe days, and tonight I wanted to see my whole life one last time before I can't anymore. The driver started crying. The house, that's where I raised my kids. The school where I found my purpose, the diner where I fell in love, the cemetery where I said goodbye, and here, the hospital, where I'm checking in tonight. Hospice floor. I'm not going home. Thank you for driving me through my life. He said, you are the last stranger who will ever be kind to me. I wanted it to be gentle and you made it gentle. Of course, the driver refused the money, saying that he couldn't take it, but he insisted. Please, I have nobody to leave it to. My kids don't talk to me. I have no friends left. You gave me 3 hours of kindness, and that is worth way more than $500 to me. He got out and he grabbed his small suitcase, and he turned back and he said, what's your name? And the driver says, Marcus. Thank you, Marcus, for being the last good thing. He walked into the hospital and Marcus just sat in his car, sobbing. And he couldn't stop thinking about him. So he went back the next day and he asked for him. Mr. Patterson, room 412. He brought flowers, he knocked. Marcus, you came back. Couldn't leave it like that. Are you okay? Mr. Patterson says, dying, but I got to see my life last night. So yes, I'm okay. And they talked for 2 hours about Mr. Patterson's wife, his students, the kids who stopped calling, the life that he lived. He brought coffee, read him the news, sat in silence sometimes, and Mr. Patterson told him everything. The regrets, the joys, the moments that he would relive. I thought I'd die alone, but you're here. A stranger who became family in my last days. And that's a gift. Marcus held his hand and he said, you're not dying alone. Not anymore. And Mr. Patterson said, thank you for seeing me through tears, even whenever I felt invisible. And Marcus visited every day for 2 weeks. Well, Mr. Patterson died on Tuesday, 3:17 a.m. And Marcus was there, and he was holding his hand. And his last words, tell people to look at strangers. Really look. Everyone's dying, some faster than others, but we're all heading somewhere. And be kind on the way. You were kind. You saved my last days. And he closed his eyes, and the heart monitor flatlined. And Marcus stayed for about another hour. And he was happy that at least Mr. Patterson died with someone. That is what mattered. His funeral had 6 people. Marcus, 3 nurses, a lawyer, 1 former student who saw the obituary. That's it. A man who taught for 43 years, loved a woman for 52, lived for 81. 6 people. So Marcus spoke. Mr. Patterson taught me something in his last 2 weeks. Every stranger is someone's whole world. Every Uber passenger has a story. Every person you pass is living and dying and hoping that somebody sees them. He paid me $500 to drive him through his life, but he gave me something worth more. The knowledge that kindness to strangers is not extra. It's everything. Because we are all strangers until someone stops, looks, listens, and stays. And he says he keeps that $500 in his glove box, that he never spent it, because it's a reminder. Every passenger might be taking their last ride. Every stranger might be saying their last goodbye. So he drives different now. He asks questions. He listens. He sees people because of an old man who needed one last gentle night. And a stranger that stayed. So be that stranger, please. Someone's taking their last ride tonight. So be gentle.
If they like to tell us the truth right in plain sight, what do you think they're trying to tell us here in Bana Hills, Vietnam? You think they're trying to hint at something? What about here? Here's some more architecture from Bana Hills. You think they're trying to tell us something? Like, really trying to tell us something? Well, what about here in the movie Moana? You think they're trying to tell us something here? Like, I don't know. What could they be trying to tell us? What in the world could it be? I just can't figure it out. Or see the movie Cars, and you know how the cars are the people in the movie? Well, did you ever check out the mountain ranges in the Cars movie? Maybe you need a better look. Where that kind of looks like a vintage Ford. And did you ever take a close look at the Teton Mountains? Teton, that sounds an awful lot like Titan. Well, maybe if we take a different look. Sometimes it just takes a bit different perspective to see things in a new light. And just to make sure you really see it. Couldn't help but notice a smile, a nose, and even an eye in those Teton Mountains. And speaking of mountains, have you ever heard of Camelback Mountain? Couldn't help but notice something there. I couldn't help but notice how much Camelback Mountain looked so similar to a camel, and how other mountain ranges across the entire world seem to have faces in the mountains. That's the Garden of the Gods. And again, when you take a different perspective, things become a little bit more clear. And speaking of more clear, here's Black Dragon Canyon viewpoint. I wonder what we can get a view of. Those kind of look like big, jagged teeth, wouldn't you say? And when you zoom out, couldn't help but notice this old thing. Here it is outlined for you, down to its jagged teeth and its big old mouth and head, right where Dragon Trailhead Canyon is. And when you zoom out from that big old dragon head, you start to see a picture of something else, like a full dragon, wings, torso, and all the way up to the Black Dragon Canyon. And when you zoom out, you see it in its entirety. But then zoom in even further. You can see all sorts of things on the terrain that appear to look like scales. Here's the terrain, and here's some alligator scales. But of course, all this is for entertainment purposes. I don't really think they mock us by putting things right in plain sight and calling things by names that you wouldn't believe are actually true, like Camelback Mountain and the Teton Mountains. This is all for entertainment purposes. Of course, I don't really think monster giant animals and giants called the Nephilim once existed.
A home has gone viral for apparently being haunted.
Has anybody seen the update to this video? I would really love to see an update here. Video is really cool. I mean, you have a house who, if it's haunted and it's saying SOS, help me, that would be very interesting to see. I've investigated homes where you could feel a presence there. I couldn't tell if it was coming from the home or the person that was living in that house. But there's a cabin that I investigated in Yellowstone. This cabin's called the Mill Carrier's Cottage. It's built back in the late 1800s, so it's been around for a very long time. That cottage had a presence. You could feel it. It was almost like it was seething with energy. I did an EVP session there, and I got whatever that entity was that's inside there talking to me. And it was saying, let me out. I captured it more than once. That's what I want to know, if there's an update to this house, because if somebody went there to help, I would really like to know.
Okay, one of the most insane historical facts has got to be when Iran took a bunch of American hostages in 1979, but then decided to free all the black hostages and the women. Why did Iran do this, you ask? Well, first we got to go back a little bit to why Iran took hostages in the first place. And when you understand this, you'll also understand why Iran and the USA don't really like each other to this day. You see, Iran had a problem. You see, back before the 1950s, Iran's oil industry was basically completely taken over by the United States and Britain. Iran was barely getting a share of their oil. Iran said, knock, 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 hello, United States, Britain, can we have our oil back? United States and Britain said, who said we got your oil? Iran said, boy, we're not stupid out here. We see y'all scamming us. United States and Britain said, you got it. So we not finna lie, but we're not giving your oil back though, for real. So Iran voted in a new prime minister that took back Iran's oil. United States said, ooh, we can't have that. Call in the CIA. The CIA pulls up, that boy gone. The United States brings in a new guy, the Shah, and he's very friendly towards the United States. Iran said, who the yo, the Shah said, look, y'all didn't even give me a chance for real. Yeah, fast forward 20 years later, he gave away all of Iran's oil and had very oppressive policies towards the people. The people of Iran said, time's up. The Shah said, time's up. Boy, you know what I got behind me? Roop, roop, roop. Big dog United States. The Iranian people said, all right, let's see if they get to you in time. The Iranian people rose up and started hunting them down. The Shah said, oh, them folk tripping. He calls the United States. He said, yo, them folk trying to get me. The United States said, chill, we're going to get an airplane. We're going to come pick you up. We can't let our assets, our friends, suffer. The Shah gets on a plane and he dips. He said, I'll see y'all folk in the States. The people of Iran looked at the United States and said, bring back the Shah. The United States said, no, the Shah is sick. We can't give him to you right now. Iran said, we got hospitals here and jails. Bring him over. The United States said, no. And we still gonna take your oil because we're gonna bring in a new guy to still take your oil. This was the last straw for Iran. Iranian college students stormed the United States embassy and take everybody hostage. They said, bring back the Shah. The United States said, release the hostages. What are your demands? Iran said, well, they're pretty reasonable. 1, we want the Shah back. 2, we want you to leave us and our oil alone. The United States said, no. If there's something you got to know about the United States of America, it's very hard to negotiate with. The United States wants it all at all times. They said, hostage, y'all gonna have to hold it down. The hostage said, United States said, counteroffer, we keep the Shah, we keep the oil, and you give us the hostages. Iran's new supreme leader, Khomeini, said, look at my face. Do I look like I'm finna play with y'all? Give us back the... Hold on. Are those black people? Now here's where things start to get wicked. Khomeini looked at the black hostages and said, don't the United States be like oppressing y'all and messing with y'all too? Black people said, well, Khomeini said, oh no, y'all are free to go. Plus the women, y'all are free to go. The white hostages said, Jamal, ain't you gonna put in a good word for me? He said, my name's Eric. He said, Andre, we're not here to argue about semantics. This is a serious situation. Go talk to them folk. Put in a good word for me. Black people said, all right, give us your number. I'm going to call you on my iPhone. We're going to put in a good word. White people said, iPhones haven't been invented yet. Black people said, exactly. Call me when they get invented. Oh, them folk dipped. Except a black man named Carl. Now, I don't know if this is him, but this picture goes with what I'm saying. You see, Carl was a Marine, but he was also a radio operator in the Marines. So he was privy to very sensitive information. Carl said, okay, we packing our bags, we going. They said, Carl, you can't come. Carl said, y'all see my skin color, right? They said, yeah, Carl, but you privy to info. You're going to have to hold it down. Carl said, ain't this about it? But Carl was released 2 years later with the rest of the hostages because President Jimmy Carter, after a lot of back and forth, there's a lot more to the story than this, finally made a deal with Iran basically saying, okay, we're going to leave you alone. Just release the hostages. Iran didn't get the Shah because the Shah actually passed away. And side note, since Jimmy Carter took so long to get the hostages released, Reagan used that against him to get elected over Jimmy Carter, and Reagan then ruined the world. But that's a story for another day. Side note, to Jimmy Carter's credit, even though he lost the election, he still worked on getting the hostages until his last day in office. In fact, he got the hostages released on his last day in office. And well, even after the hostages were released, Iran and the United States relationship had never been the same since. And in fact, before the hostage crisis and after the hostage crisis, there were many more little incidents that happened between the US and Iran. What's happening today is just another piece in a story that's been ongoing for about 100 years. They just haven't taught you it in your history books. A story that I hope ends peacefully and sooner rather than later.
This is the most sacred artifact in history, and the fact that we still have this defies all scientific explanation. Now, before we get into it, my name is Mr. Turrentine, and all I do is study the world's greatest miracles to bring them to you in story format. So, if you like that kind of thing, then follow the page, and let's get right into it. Early in the 1st century, there was this group of friends who were basically the equivalent of celebrities of that time. Everywhere they went, there would be these massive crowds that gathered around, and just people were super excited about them being there. People changed, and when they left the town, the entire town was never the same again. But among all of these men, there was one man who particularly stood out. Not because he was flashy or he had a crazy personality or anything. He had such an unshakable moral compass that it didn't matter to him who you were. If you weren't living the way that God intended, whether you were a king, a commoner, or a politician, it was unacceptable and he had to do something about it. Now, before the group of friends decides to leave this one town to go to the other one, this one very moral man decided decided that he was going to stay and publicly humiliate the king in front of all of his subjects because he had been doing these heinous and horrifying moral atrocities. And he was putting these all on display for everyone. And he just thought it was completely unacceptable, so he was going to do something about it. So he goes to this palace, and just before going in, he feels this tightening in his chest, and he starts to feel this very, very intense fear because he knew that what he was doing was incredibly stupid, very, very dangerous, and it could cost him his life. But he also kind of felt like this was his responsibility to God, so he just goes ahead and opens the door, and he does it anyway. And as soon as he walks into the palace, everybody's gaze just goes straight to this man because they knew who that man was, and they knew what this meant for the king. And that's exactly what he does. He starts preaching, and he starts just kind of making an example out of this king, and everybody is super, super engaged with every single word that he is saying. And all of a sudden, these two guards, they approach this man from the back, they grab his arms, put them behind his back, and they escort him straight into what was the king's dungeon. This man knew that this was one of the possibilities, but he never expected what was going to happen to him next. Because a couple of weeks later, a woman related to the king was in this beautiful and amazing feast, and they were enjoying a lot of great food. Now, one of the guards approaches this woman. In his hands, he had this silver platter with a dome-shaped lid. So the woman grabs that dome-shaped lid, she opens it, and as soon as she sees what's underneath it, she has the biggest smirk on her face. But then something happens that just made her drop that lid and run the other way. Because in that platter was the head of none other than John the Baptist. And when she opened it, John began to speak something that just sent these chills down her spine and made her run away. He said that no one could ever silence him because he will always point to the truth with the same hand that baptized the Messiah. Now, here's where this becomes more than just a story, because after his death, early Christian records show that his followers actually kept that right hand which baptized Jesus. Now, by the 4th century, it was documented in Antioch. Later, it was in Constantinople, and after its fall, it just got dispersed into a couple different pieces. But what's absolutely mind-blowing to me is that we still have this hand today, and it's still really well preserved. It should be completely impossible, and it currently resides in Mount Athos and in Istanbul. Now, this is what the hand looks like, and under any kind of normal conditions, there would be no soft tissue whatsoever on this hand left. Usually, it should decompose in just a couple of decades, sometimes less than that, and you would have only bone. But this isn't just bone. You can see it still has fingernails, it still has the flesh on there, and the structure of the hand is still perfectly preserved as if it was mummified, but it was never chemically treated, and it still looks like this after nearly 2,000 years. And even today, if you look at icons of John the Baptist, you will see that his fingers are still raised and pointing to the truth, the way, and the life, Jesus Christ.
Because everybody knows the only reason we're having this war is because Israel wants it.
Come on. The only reason? I'm going to explain why the U.S. is bombing Iran's government without mentioning Israel until the end. I don't know if this war is the right call, and we won't all agree with what's happening, but at least we can understand why. Iran wasn't always a place where women were forced to cover up, the government killed its own people, and kids sold kidneys for food. It used to be a thriving democracy. Then, Iran's prime minister tried to nationalize their oil to take it back from British corporations. The CIA and the Brits didn't like that. So in 1953, they helped overthrow him and replace him with the Shah, basically a king. The Shah was controversial. So in 1979, liberal college students led a revolution to overthrow him. What they hoped for was freedom. What they got was the Islamic Republic. The Republic executed thousands of political prisoners, including those students. In 1979, they held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. Night after night, they paraded our citizens on camera and tortured them off camera. We took that personally. Now, you need to understand this about the Islamic Republic. They aren't rational geopolitical actors. They are religious fanatics who welcome death. Their constitution lists their Messiah, a figure who disappeared over 1,000 years ago, as head of state. They believe he will only come back at the end of the world, so that's what they want. That's why they fund Hamas and Hezbollah. That's why their terror network has launched attacks in Europe, Muslim countries, and killed Americans worldwide. For them, all roads lead to Armageddon. They aren't logical. They're ideological. And you can't negotiate someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into. For the last 2 decades, they've pursued 2 weapons to contest the West: nukes and terrorism. Obama got them to agree not to build nukes for 15 years in exchange for removing sanctions. But that gave them more money, which they gave to terrorists instead of their citizens. Then Trump removed the nuclear deal and put back sanctions. That gave them less money for terrorists, but pushed them toward nukes. You don't want war, but you also don't want them getting nukes, right? But how do you prevent the nukes without risking the war? And if they get the nukes, does war find you anyway? Do you keep playing nuclear poker and hope that they bluff for the next 20 years? Or do you flip the table? If you were the president, what would you do? And what would you realize about them if they tried to kill you, like they tried to kill Trump? Now, does Israel benefit from this? Sure. That's what happens when two countries share an enemy. You don't need to trust Israel to see that. Look, we're not saints. We're acting in our interests. But our interests and the Iranian people's interests are aligned. And what we did to Iran was wrong. Now we have a chance to make it right. If you want to support my mission of bringing you clarity, become a paid subscriber on Substack. That's what keeps this work going, and I have more content there for you too.
You seriously believe that you have free will? That's a good one. Let me ask you, how can you be so sure? The Gnostics would tell you that you have exactly as much freedom as 7 planetary administrators have decided to allow you. And now, I'm going to tell you exactly who they are, why they're holding you here, and what you need to say to get past them when you ascend. So let's get into it, but first, if you're interested in learning more about Gnosticism, Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, and other mystery traditions, make sure to leave the word sanctum in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can with some information about how to join the next time invites go out. Of course, starting with the man himself, Yaldabaoth. This is the blind god who mistook himself for the highest power, and he built this world as a trap. He appointed 7 archons, 1 per planetary sphere, to make sure that the soul never remembers what it actually is, because the soul that recovers its pleromadic origin escapes the system entirely. That's right, escapes the system entirely. It stops feeding the kinoma, and the archons, they hold consciousness inside the spheres the same way that any trap holds anything, not through force, but through the architecture, through making the cage feel like it's the only reality that actually exists. Let's talk names and passwords. Yaldabaoth rules Saturn. Lion-headed, serpent-bodied, he's the great restrictor. To pass his sphere, the soul must declare that it comes not from his realm, but from the pleroma, that his authority simply doesn't extend to what it actually is. Eloios rules Jupiter, authority weaponized into hierarchy. The soul must arrive carrying 0 need for recognition or permission from any power structure at all. Astaphios rules Mars, conflict, domination, and desire converted into violence. The soul must demonstrate that it's fully shed the garment of aggression. Yao rules the sun, and this is the provocative one. The solar sphere every tradition venerates as divine light in Gnostic cosmology is a cage. The soul must prove that it can distinguish archontic reflected light from genuine pleromadic luminosity. Next, there's Sabaoth, the ruler of Venus. This is the archon of longing. The conviction that what the soul needs is here, in this world, and always just out of reach. Sneaky, right? Complete dissolution of material attachment is the only passphrase needed to pass Sabaoth. Now there's also Adonaios, who rules Mercury. This is the administrator of the mind itself, the force converting direct pleromadic intuition into words that can never fully hold it. The soul must present itself in pure gnosis, beyond language and beyond articulated belief. Finally, there's Orios, who rules the moon, the final veil, the very last garment. The soul sheds its biological identity here before crossing the Horos and into the pleroma. So to put it simply, on the way down, the soul received 1 garment per sphere. Limitation, pride, aggression, hunger for recognition, attachment, the chattering intellect, and even the body itself. 7 layers of archontic clothing over your pleromadic light. The path out is the same path in. Walked in the opposite direction with your eyes open this time. So if you like this video, make sure to leave a like on the video itself. Follow for more deep dives like this, and leave the word sanctum in the comments below if you're interested in our esoteric community. I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can with information about how to join the next time invites go out. See you next time, guys.
The scariest nursing home I ever worked at, story time. So in my early 20s, I got a job as a cleaner in this really old nursing home / rehabilitation center that we'll call Premier Living. Now this place was 3 stories high, and it was winged off in 8 different sections. It'd have your older folks over here, very sick people over here, rehabilitation over there, addiction over here, and then downstairs, there were 2 floors. You had the morgue and then the basement below the morgue. And when I tell you that was the creepiest damn place I ever been, it was terrifying. So up on the 3rd floor, we had this room that was called the sunroom, and it was where all the windows were open, kind of like a play area for the elderly people. And they'd go in there throughout the day, play cards, Yahtzee, bingo, you know, just different board games. They'd watch TV. Sometimes they'd smoke and talk. But the real reason it was called the sunroom was because every evening when the sun went down and it started to get dark, all the patients with sundown syndrome would start acting up in that room. I mean, they would go from talking just like I am right now to sit like this and you would gradually see their face change, and they would turn into a whole different person. If you didn't know what sundown syndrome was and it was your first time dealing with it, you would think they were possessed. There was one elderly woman who would just be talking just like this, playing cards or whatever, and then all of a sudden, when the sun went down, she'd go, and she would breathe so loud when she did it, she sounded like a dog panting. It freaked me out. Another resident had this baby doll, and she carried it everywhere. And she treated it like it was her own baby. She took great care of it. But when that sun went down, she'd turn on that baby. She'd switch up so fast. One minute she'd be, I love the baby so much, to banging its head on the table. One of the coolest things about working in a nursing home is that you're dealing with all these older people who have lived a lifetime. You know, they all have a past, and every past is different. So they would tell you the coolest stories. They'd tell you stories that were real about their life, and then they would tell you like their legends and folklore from where they were from. For example, Miss Ming, she would tell us stories about folklore and legends in Japan. One of those stories was that in Japan, there is a ghostly woman, or this beastly type woman, who stands so many feet tall, has long black hair, sharp nails, and she's so tall that she can see up into like second, third story windows. Miss Ming was always telling us about this thing, and as Miss Ming's brain continued to deteriorate, at night she began screaming, saying that this thing was standing at the window watching her. A lot of nights they would have to sedate Miss Ming because she swore this thing was standing or floating at her window. But what freaked me out was one night the nurses called me into her room to help them change her bedpan and her sheets and stuff, and Miss Ming was kind of heavy set, so they would roll her over and I would change the sheet. But as I was putting the sheet on the bed, I stretched my arm across, and when my peripheral vision, like when I glanced up at the window, I could have sworn I saw this pale white face, dark eyes, long hair, just like gleaming into the window. I jumped back and dropped everything, and the nurses are like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, put the sheet on the bed. And Miss Ming is like, you saw her, didn't you? You saw her, didn't you? And I'm like, I don't know what I saw. We also had this woman that we'll call Cheryl, who said her husband Albert was a hitman and that he had killed thousands of people throughout their marriage. I'll have to make a video about Cheryl all on its own because that story is so long but interesting. Long story short, while he's gone, she's going through some of their stuff, and she finds a bin out in the garage, and it's full of these notebooks, his journals. Allegedly, she found her husband's kill books where he spoke in detail about the victims, who they were, where they were from, why he killed them. I often wondered if he was a hitman or if he was just a serial killer. Don't know for sure. Now, one of the nurses did report this to the police, but the police said there was no way it could be true. She had to be out of her mind, but I often wondered, was she telling the truth and they just didn't want to investigate it? I don't know. Then there was Mr. Joe. Now, Mr. Joe was an old retiree. He'd been at the home for about 5 years when I started there, and he was probably like 90, 91, somewhere in there. Now, Mr. Joe was really cool, really sweet, always respectful, but sometimes late at night, he would get very scared, and he would swear that there was something standing in the room with him. He would say this thing is standing at the foot of the bed, on his pillow, laying next to him, on the ceiling, just, it's always with him, following him, and it won't leave him alone until he's dead. But later, his daughter told us that it was his own son that he had shot and killed. Apparently, the son had snuck out of the house. Mr. Joe woke up, thought it was an intruder breaking into the house, but it was a son who had came home late. And Mr. Joe grabbed his pew-pew and unalived him. And then when they cut the lights on and realized it was his son, he just went off the deep end. But the creepiest thing that happened that actually made me quit my job was what Mr. Rick did. So Mr. Rick was about 74 years old. His family admitted him into the nursing home, claiming that he was out of control and they couldn't handle him anymore and he was getting into trouble and he needed to be monitored and supervised. So they put him in the nursing home. Mr. Rick was 74 years old. He was still mobile. He could get up, walk around. Hell, he'd jog around the nursing home sometimes. He was in great shape. But his family admitted him into the nursing home, stating that he was out of control and they couldn't handle him anymore. So I go into work around 7 o'clock that evening. I was 30 minutes late, and it had been storming throughout the day. But that night we had some bad storms come through, and I mean, boom, just thunder shaking the ground, lightning, tornado warnings. It was rough. So around 10 p.m., lights are out, TVs are off. We're making our rounds. And I'm walking around, I'm thinking, something just kind of feels off, but I don't know what it is. Next thing I know, nurses are running down the hallway, the power goes out, and I'm like, what is going on, y'all? And she said, Mr. Rick is missing. Come on, we got to find Mr. Rick. Hurry up. So, of course, I throw my mop down to the side. We take off. We split up. And I'm paired up with another nurse. And we all start going around searching for Mr. Rick. Now, we knew the place was on lockdown. And there was no way for him to get in or out of this place. So we knew he was there somewhere. We just had to find him. So me and this nurse, we go downstairs towards the morgue in the basement. And we get down to the morgue. And the doctor comes in and says, hey, have y'all seen anybody in here? And we said, no, but we're looking for Mr. Rick. Why? He said, because one of our cadavers is missing. I said, what? Where would it go? What do you mean a cadaver is missing? One of the bodies was missing out of the morgue. The doctor said, I don't know, but it didn't just walk off. Somebody took it. Sorry, I had to take a break. But anyways, me and this nurse are standing in the hallway, side by side. And when we get towards the beginning of the next hallway, we see this figure standing down at the end of that hallway we were just at. She looks closer and says, that guy looks weird. Look at his face. His head's dropped down. I said, yeah, he does look weird. Something's wrong with him. It kind of looked like Mr. Rick was standing there holding his head down like this. But when she got closer, she said, that's not Mr. Rick. And when I got closer, I said, that man's naked. That dude is stark naked, and his skin don't look right. Well, why does he look purple like that? What? And then she realized, wait a minute, that ain't Mr. Rick. That's the cadaver. I said, well, if that's cadaver, how's he standing there? She said, I don't know. But then the cadaver, the body, picked his head up, and his eyes was open, and he was looking at us. Well, then his head drops again, and this dead body starts walking towards us, and it picks up pace to where it looks like it's running at us. So I said, oh, hell no, this, I'm out. When I tell you, I didn't give a shit. I took off running. Yes, I left her there. She was screaming, where are you going? I said, listen, fuck you and fuck y'all, I'm done, I'm out. So the next day, everybody was laughing at me because we all found out it was Mr. Rick. He stole the body from the morgue and was standing behind it, holding it up, making it move. That's why it looked like it was walking on its own. I don't care they were laughing at me. I was out. Just picture that, seeing someone hold a dead body at the end of a hallway, making it look like it was walking around and stuff. Yeah, I was done with that job. And I didn't go back there, but I did go to another nursing home, which was even worse. If you want to hear more about the nursing homes, let me know in the comments. I love to share.
Hey guys, I'm ready to share some of the biggest secrets in the solar system. Are you ready to hear them? And if you doubt the veracity of that claim, let me show you this right off the jump. This is me literally standing hundreds of feet over some of the biggest secrets in the solar system. I'm standing next to the chief engineer of U.S. Space Command. He's been tasked with defending the planet from space. He used to run most of the Air Force. If you know, you know. So my name is Sean Webb. I've been missing for about a year and a half as I've been finishing the project of creating empathy and compassion for AI, which was a success. I presented the results at the Science of Consciousness Conference in Barcelona in 2025. But unfortunately now that work is being suppressed by the United States government because when you put empathy and compassion into AI, it starts to change the human psyche and lead us toward world peace, which is a big problem for missile assembly lines. You can't control the world with fear if you have world peace. If we're looking at the scorecards, I'm one of the only people on the planet who the Department of Defense's position is officially classified. If you try to FOIA my FBI files, it's declined for national security reasons. I don't have an FBI file as far as the government is concerned, although I did have a top secret clearance in the United States Navy, so we know that's false. Probably pretty thick. Now I'm being shadow banned, and I'll show you those statistics here momentarily, to the point that 99.8% of my followers aren't shown my content. The reason they want to suppress me is multifaceted. First, I know a lot of stuff that most people don't know, and I'm going to share that with you as we move forward, including my connection to a waived, unacknowledged special access program run by the Secret Space Program, which is one of the most classified projects in the solar system. But I was a subject, not a participant, so I didn't sign any NDAs, so I'm going to be spilling a lot of tea. I was witnessed by multiple United States Navy SEALs calling in UFO craft for a flyby, and I have some connections there that we're going to discuss. The Monroe Institute, that trained the United States psychic spies, has me at the top of their database in psychic functioning. Although they didn't train me, they just measured me. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a lot of alien stuff. We're going to talk about a lot of consciousness technologies, and we're going to talk about a lot of secrets that you should know as a human being living on this planet. But before we get into that, I need you to know that if you want this content to be shared, you literally will have to share it, because the level of shadow banning that I am experiencing, I'm about to show you the stats right now, is going to require you to click that share button and put in somebody's email address and send this over to them so that we can break the algorithmic limitations of what's happening to my social media accounts. Let's look at that right now. So now this podcast is going to be called This Is Not, and you'll understand as we move forward how that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but most of my social media accounts are under the umbrella of Mind Hacking Happiness, which is the name of my website, the name of a few books that I wrote, and is the jumping off point from where I share my information. The books are Navy SEAL endorsed, which is part of the problem of why the government wants to shut me down. And if you look at the stats, that's not hyperbole. Just looking at my YouTube stats, which granted, I only have 47,000 followers, and I do plan to grow that a little bit this year. I got a poor start to 2026 though. Look at this. Sub growth in the last 30 days, 0. No new subscribers. We'll look at TikTok in a moment. It's even worse there. But scrolling down to the bottom, here's the statistic that tells the tale. 99.8% of my 47,000 subscribers are never shown my content. No matter what I do, no matter what I put out, they won't show it to anyone who is asked to actually see it. I have 6 of 8 shadow ban indicators, and I'm in the bottom 3% of channels with similar subscriber counts to mine. That's just YouTube. Let's move on to TikTok. TikTok shows an 87% likelihood of shadow banning, which is also called algorithmic suppression. And if you look down here at the bottom, basically, this is a shit show. 0 0.55% of my followers view my content. That's buried. And it's not like I don't have the opportunity, because I do have 1.4 million followers on TikTok. Here's the real beauty of the shadow ban, though. Look at this. Zero growth of new subscribers. But if you look at the app, it shows hundreds of people subscribing, except they don't really. That's a real shadow ban. That's a Defense Intelligence Agency shadow ban, baby. You're in the pro leagues now. Let's move on to Instagram. Shadow ban analysis for Instagram. 78% probability. I have 474,000 followers on Instagram. I have no idea where they came from. I think the government actually bought them for me to downgrade the capability of my channel to look realistic. But look here in the middle, 0.04% engagement rate, which tells the tale. None of my content gets out to any followers. Let's move on to X, which is actually the least shadow banned platform that I have. It's only a 62% likelihood that I am algorithmically suppressed. I've only got 3,400 followers, even though I put up almost 6,000 posts over the last 18 years. I'm so old school that my Twitter account, my X account, is @SeanWebb. I got my name. That's OG. Now, if this was only happening on one platform, might be an anomaly, right? Let's look at the composite numbers. Bottom line, cross-platform shadow ban probability analysis, 94.7% likelihood that if there's a coordinated suppression, highly probable. All the individual numbers are there down below, and when you multiply all those together, it says, yep, your content goes out to 0 of your followers. The Defense Intelligence Agency considers my mind as one of the most dangerous on the planet for them. And I'm only safe because some of the things that I have to tell you moving forward, they can't touch me. Not only because Ross Coulthart and Danny Sheehan have a lot of my backstory in written format, so if I disappear, the story still gets out, but I think I'm a little bit of a special case for them. The problem is the intelligence folks at the bottom who are instructed to fuck with me don't understand why they're instructed to fuck with me and how classified and how secret the stuff in my head is. So the final cross-platform verdict, across 4 independent platforms with a combined audience of 1.93 million followers, Mind Hacking Happiness content reaches less than 0.5% of its audience on average. The probability of this occurring naturally across all platforms simultaneously, even after generous adjustments for content quality, niche competition, and algorithmic changes, is less than 5.3%. So I understand a lot of people think, oh, I'm being shadow banned. If you can beat these numbers, literally, I want you to do the analysis and I want you to come to me if you can beat these numbers, because I think I might be the most shadow banned person on the internet in comparison to the quality of the content that I have put out and can put out and will be putting out here shortly. So share this with your friends, which is going to take a physical movement of your fingers to tap the buttons and type things in to get this shared out, because it's not going to go to anyone according to our statistics. Get this in the hands of your friends, because we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of amazing discussions, and we're going to learn a lot of cool stuff, and we're going to explore things together that are theoretical in nature of what's going on with the bleeding edge of non-human intelligence, consciousness technologies, and all the cool stuff that you want to know about this solar system that you're living in. I hope this message finds you well. I'm super excited to fire this up. It's called This Is Not. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Peace.
My name is Brad. And I talk about weird things here on TikTok. Because 2 years ago, I had something supernatural happen to me. And my life has been a sci-fi film ever since. And it's something that isn't just me anymore. It's friends and family and people I've taught how to do this. Because of what happened, I figured out what causes it. It's something that we can induce. Now we have the ability, and a large growing number of people have the ability to actually see through a veil that exists and interact with other densities and dimensions that are nested right on top of us. We have figured out how to do this. Do it on demand. When you do that, you can communicate with beings and guardian angels, spirit guides. You can have all of these interactions. You can then have, it's if they're sitting across the room from you, and you can sit there and ask some questions. We've learned so much over years of being able to do this, and now there's more people that can do this. The amount of information we have is absurd. We ask the same questions that you would ask if you had the ability to do this. We've learned so much about how our reality works, down to the quantum math that it operates in. But we've also been able to ask questions about our history, our timelines, because what we're being told and taught is filtered. And it's been the way it's structured is to manipulate us from understanding that there is a mystical part of our reality. You'll see it in the e-files. The elites know that this exists, and they know they can use it for personal gain. You're going to see more and more of this as that story unfolds. We need to reevaluate some stuff from our history. Growing up a strong Christian, I thought the only possible divine beings were God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and that Satan and Lucifer existed. And that anything else that was worshipped in history in Egypt and Greek mythology was just false and just wasn't real. And that's not the case. It's one of the most surprising parts of what we've learned. There was a period of time, and it's not that long ago, that the veil didn't exist. There is a veil that exists between us and these other densities. You can physically see this in the DMT laser experiment. If you're not familiar with that, go search Danny Goler or the DMT laser experiment here on TikTok. He figured out that if you shine a diffracted laser beam on any surface under altered states, you can see a matrix style code that runs through everything. What you're seeing when you see that is the physical veil. There are symbols that run through it. They're small, they move. As you move the laser, the code doesn't move with it. It just reveals more. This is something that exists, and it is a part of what makes our reality function. But it hasn't always been there. So when you go back in history and you start reading what we thought were fairy tale mythology stories, that's not the case. Those beings do exist. We have met quite a few of them. Like one of them we deal with a lot is Thoth. And if you don't know that story, it's going to be important. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, like there's a reason they're connected. It's because the same divine being continues to manifest here in this reality and is teaching the same things. So they're different time frames, but they're the same divine being that's just manifested here as an archetype. We'll get into archetypes some other day, but we have to go back and reevaluate that, because there is big G and then a whole lot of little g's. They have powers, they have abilities, and that any of this is real. Some of the words that come out of my mouth, I still struggle. I know in my heart, in my soul, that what I'm telling you is truth. But still to hear myself say them with certainty, still just get this disbelief. This is happening for a lot of people. So these other people in our group will have these interactions with beings, and they'll get information that I know that they don't know. I know them because I'm a polymath and I've got a weird brain. And ever since this started happening, it is more like the movie, The Phenomenon with John Travolta. I just have just started to absorb so much information. I retain almost all of it. And so I'll get a story about an interaction they had where they get information about a relic that existed or a name from someone in history, which I know. And I know that there's no way that but all of it connects, every bit of it. There isn't anything, there's a distortion that doesn't align as this story unfolds. For example, we got information at some point. This comes from another person. I'm supposed to go to Göbekli Tepe. As he's trying to explain what information was passed to him, he doesn't know how to say that word. It's if you understand ancient history and archaeology, you're familiar with that site. There's no way that he would know anything about that. I've got example after example of information. And if you want to know what Göbekli Tepe was, that's Noah's Ark. We have all sorts of just wild information. We can fill in so many holes in our civilization's history. But Noah existed. The Book of Enoch is very important. If you do not know what that is, every person on earth should be familiar with that story because that is real. It did happen. Similar things are happening now. Information that has been kept from us because of the stage of this life cycle that our civilization is in, is starting to come to the surface all at once. So much of our history has been whitewashed to keep you from understanding that there is a mystical aspect to this. And you can interact with it, and it doesn't have to be witchcraft or occultism at all. That you're seeing evidence of that because elites are the ones that have been keeping this information from you. And they've been using it for themselves and for personal gain. And it's really, really dark. When you get into their worshiping Baal, Moloch, getting into Luciferianism, it is not them playing games and in a delusion. They're doing real things that have real effects on this reality and on you. You're supposed to be able to have these divine interactions and develop the light. The experiences that you can have with God, with Yeshua. The Holy Spirit is consciousness. We understand its complete architecture, down to the quantum math at every level. It comes through different people, and the math lines up perfectly. But that is even possible. It's insane. We can completely understand, Christian, we understand how the Holy Spirit works. We understand the structure. And the esoteric community, it's consciousness. We're talking about the same thing. It's just the esoteric community has a deeper understanding of it. Because they're not limiting themselves to divine truth only being in the Bible. There are parts of the Bible that were removed that are extremely important. The Book of Enoch, Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Book of Jubilees. We can go on and on and on. It is time to wake up from the illusion and the manipulation that you've been under. If you want to learn more about this, go through my older videos or stay tuned, because that's what you're going to get here. So, keep following along. I'll tell you more weird shit next time. Much love.
This is
Your troubled heart bleeds like a river. It's rushing towards fields painted greener. It doesn't see the demons behind. Praying you're getting close to the line, so they can get their hands on love and trade it off for silver. It's nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. Better the devil you know. 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 Your nervous spine is crawling with shivers. You're standing right in the eye of a blizzard. You're inches from a shelter, so near the warmth of a home in a chandelier, shining down its light, pushing you to be closer. Curtains nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. Tonight, better the dust you know. Better the devil 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 you know. Where'd you go? You're running away. I know that it ain't easy. I see. You're losing your mind, you're pushing away. Yeah, it's a mistake. Yeah, it's a making me check my phone to see if you called. I know I'll get nothing at all. I carry the weight of both you and me. I'm starting to break. I wish you could see what you're doing to me. What you do? Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot up the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Yeah, we're going too fast, 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 fast. Get your foot up the gas, 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 gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Stop, 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 stop. When we always collapse. We always collapse. You're making me soft. Starting to slip, you don't give a shit. It's starting to hurt. I can't keep my grip. Yeah. Oh, I can see the end begin. I can see. Yeah, we're going too fast. Get your foot off the gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? Yeah, we're going too fast. Get your foot off the gas. Yeah, we're gonna crash. How is this gonna last when we always collapse? When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end begin. When we always collapse. Oh, I can see the end. There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is the sun even shining today? Why are the headlines talking about? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. Now that we're apart, there's nothing. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. Saw you for the first time in a while, You seemed so surprised I worked out a smile, a smile, a smile, smile. 'Cause I've grown and I've changed. Yeah, we went separate ways. How come we're both back here? As you push me away, as my life rearranged, but still we're both back here. Back here, close to me. I want you close to me. I can see that you want me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me. You know how to make me lose all control, all control. I should know when I need to let myself go. Let go, let go. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you want me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I'm not the same person anymore. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I want you. I want you close to me. See that you want me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Baby, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby,
Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Your tension's over there. Wondering, are you coming back home again? In spite of finding with love, where did our love go wrong? My sugar. Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you. That warm feeling in me. My heart sings a sad song and just melts away. Please look into my eyes. Sugar. Life is not fair. Until the sun doesn't shine anymore, I'll be there. When time is a memory can count on his love. You will always be the one, my sugar. The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong, my sugar?
By far the strongest evidence we have that Jesus still heals today. In 2017, a boy by the name of Demarie was born. Now, when this baby was delivered, the mother held him in her arms. And like every other mother, she just felt something that she had never felt before in her life. And immediately as she looked into this baby's eyes, she became enthralled with this beautiful little creature that God had sent her. But as little Demarie started to grow up, he started to do some things that were not normal for any toddler. And at first it was very simple things, like he was 2 years old and he wouldn't speak a single word, which was concerning, but it wasn't anything major. And they actually even took him to a doctor for it, where he was diagnosed with nonverbal autism. A few months go by, the diagnosis started to feel like it was just a cover for something much, much darker. Something that would convince the mother that her son was being possessed. Because one night, Demetria, the mom, would tuck Demarie into bed, but as she closes the door, she just starts to hear this horrifying, guttural grumble just coming from this baby's room. So she throws open the door, and her heart stops at what she's looking at, because she sees her innocent little baby just staring in the corner of the room. His eyes are wide open and you can just see they're tracking something invisible moving across the ceiling. And this just confirms it for the mother. She wasn't just raising her son, she was also living with guest that had moved into his body. And maybe this was the reason that she couldn't even speak. Now, Demetria was very devout, and she felt like she was losing a spiritual war against a literal demon. And this war was for her son's life. Now, this went on for 2 years until one day, another woman by the name of Apostle Catherine Crick posted a video of how she delivered people from these evil spirits, how they caused all kinds of illnesses in children. And she immediately knew that this was exactly what was happening, and she had to go visit this woman, and she had to go as soon as she possibly could. So on August 8th of 2021, they drove for hours, eventually arriving to Elysian Park in Los Angeles. They walked into a crowd of believers with the California sun beating down on them. And as the mother clutched her son, she whispers one final, "God, please keep your hand on my baby." And almost immediately after, as if she could hear this prayer herself, Apostle Catherine Crick would call the boy, and what happened next, they actually caught on camera.
God's gonna free you right now. I command now, every mute spirit must leave this boy on 3, and every demonic spirit in this boy, in Jesus' name. 1, 2, 3. Out now, in Jesus' name. Thank you, Jesus. He couldn't do that before. He couldn't do that before. He couldn't speak. Hallelujah. That was Jesus. Jesus made it so you can speak now, huh?
This is exactly exactly why you call on God for help. Because no matter who you are, what you've done, what your background is, whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. He still loves you. He will not neglect you. Trust me, I did for many years. I neglected him, but he never turned his back on me. And when I found my way back to him, I finally realized that he was there every step along the way. Suddenly everything makes sense. If you take one message from this, is that God loves you regardless of who you are. And if you enjoyed this story and you want to hear more stories like this, or you just like this guy with the mustache, then follow for more content.
Guys, check out this next video. Again, it's me and my friend Franny. We're on the train car. We just wrapped up doing an EVP session, and now we're moving into SB7 session. If you guys have seen some of my videos before, you know how I do my SB7 sessions. I record them much like I do an EVP session, and we play them back slowly so that we can hear the responses. We asked the one spirit that we were communicating with earlier during the EVP session to come through because they were shy, and the response we got is pretty crazy. Check this out. We've had somebody come through and say they're not shy, but I have a feeling you are shy because you're not coming and saying hello to me. Are you shy or no?
It's a JP.
It said I think it said I'm dead. Did you just?
And I don't know if you guys have used spirit boxes or not. I have two of them. I have an SB7 and an SB11, and my 7 is the best. Like, it catches so much stuff compared to the 11. I don't know if it's because the 11 just has too much going on with it, but it's pretty badass. If you're looking for a scanner or communication device, whatever, SB7, SB11, go with the SB7. Just my thoughts. Just wanted to share that with you.
Come through and say that you're dead. Yes or no?
I did.
Can you give me her name? What is her name? We've had somebody come through and say they're not shy, but I have a feeling you are shy because you're not coming and saying hello to me. Are you shy or no?
I'm dead, idiot.
I'm dead.
Guys, I've had a brilliant idea. So everyone's talking about this war in Iran and how long it's going to take and how long it's going to last. And I started wondering if there had ever been any other wars that America has taken part in. Now, I didn't think there had been. I mean, nobody knows about any other wars. But then I started doing a bit of research and I discovered that there's actually this way of writing down things that happened, but like a long time ago. And I started thinking, maybe, tell me if this is crazy, maybe we could learn lessons from things that happened in the past. I know, insane,
What?
right? So I thought it's like you're looking at all the stories.
You're crazy,
of
dude.
the people who lived back then times. I call it his story. So when I started doing this new field of study that I've just invented called his story, I discovered that America has actually fought a war in Korea, and they did this in the 50s. It cost the United States about $341 billion to fight that war, and it was against an evil family called the Kim Dynasty. I don't know if it's like an early series of the Kardashians or something, but anyway, they're fighting the Kim Dynasty. 36,000 Americans died. That's a lot of lives. It's a lot of people who lost loved ones. And 103,000 Americans were injured. Really sad. The length of the war was 3 years, but it was all worth it because, oh, right, okay, sorry, no, North Korea is still run by the Kim Dynasty. That's a bad example. That's about. Let's look at another example. Okay, this is a good one. The Bay of Pigs invasion. I know it sounds like something from Angry Birds, but this is actually a military operation that took place in 1961. It cost the United States about $300 million, so pretty cheap actually in the scheme of things. Only 4 Americans were killed, and it was totally worth it because it was against an evil family called the Castros, and they were communists, and they were running Cuba for their own benefit. They were very evil. No Americans were injured. That's a good sign. It only went on for 3 days, but it was all worth it because today, 60 years later, Cuba is now run by, it's the same family. I didn't realize it's actually, it's still the Castros. Bad example. And then came an amazing triumph. The Americans fought a war in Vietnam from the 50s to the 70s. 20 years they were in Vietnam. They were fighting evil communists, the communists of Vietnam. It costs the United States about $1 trillion in today's money. Really expensive. Not just expensive in terms of money, though, expensive in terms of lives. 58,000 Americans killed, 153,000 injured. Of course, you've got to take into account the trauma and so on as well. That's not really recorded in it. It went on for 20 years, but it was all worth it. Those 20 years fighting communists in Vietnam.
And a lot of it that you guys don't know, like some of these things you won't know unless you were in the military and you've gone through days and days and days of watching these videos. We always think of the jungle and stuff, but up in the mountains there, during Vietnam, there was snow and other weather like that. And of course, they're looking for titanium and other things that are there. And a lot of these soldiers don't have the proper attire, like jackets and boots and extra warm socks and things like that. They just have the regular stuff in their jungle boots. You know that's not going to work. So yeah, it was pretty catastrophic. And it was for no reason except for, what does Vietnam have that we would like to have? That's how all of these wars are, basically.
Resulted in Vietnam unified under a communist government that still rules them today. Sorry, bad example. Let's look at another one. Forget those. I'm still new to his story, so some of my examples aren't really good. So let's look at another one. The war in Afghanistan. So this is a more recent one, 2001 to 2021. Again, 20 years. $2.3 trillion. The most expensive of all of these wars. 2,461 American servicemen died, but thousands of contractors were also killed in Afghanistan. They had to fight this war. It was all worth it because they were fighting an evil organization called the Taliban. And the Taliban were really evil, like they hated women and stuff. And although it went on for 20 years and cost all that money, it was totally worth it because today Afghanistan is run by, still run by the Taliban. I don't know about his story thing. Maybe we shouldn't even be doing it because I can't see any patterns here. I don't think there's anything to learn. So I don't know. I might go and invent geography or something instead.
Don't do it.
Energy that is passed over. I feel like for me, he passed at a very young age. So I don't believe he was over 21 at the time. I feel like he was much younger. More importantly, this is not an accident. This is not a suicide. There's either some sort of like brain tumor. There's either some sort of like brain cancer. There's some sort of brain thing that we need to bring up here because I feel like there's a cancerous thing that's in my bones or in my brain. Is there a neurological thing like brain cancer, brain tumor? Brain tumor. Okay. I need to acknowledge here, was he much younger in life?
Okay, so this is AJ_Barrera, Barrera. Son lets his mom know that he is okay and has reached the magic castle. Yeah, but let's move on.
Every major religion on Earth has one thing in common and nobody talks about it. Muslims circle a black cube in Mecca 7 times. Romans built their empire worshipping a black cube deity. The oldest temples on Earth are oriented around Saturn's cycle, and it's not a coincidence. This is the oldest continuous ritual in all of human history, and once you understand what the cube actually encodes, you will never be able to unsee it. So let's get into it. The cube is the hexahedron. It's the only platonic solid with 6 identical faces, and those 6 faces produce 6 directions: north, south, east, west, up, and down. That's it. That's the complete enclosure of 3-dimensional space. The ancients weren't just worshipping a shape, they were encoding a cosmological.
Okay, so I'm going to like this video because I need to share this with somebody I know that has actually seen a giant cube in their life. So, yeah.
boundary, the geometric signature of a reality locked inside time, matter, and limitation. Now, because Saturn in the esoteric tradition isn't just a planet, you have to keep in mind that Saturn is Kronos. This is the lord of boundaries, the great restrictor. It's the force that takes living experience and converts it into sequence, decay, and death. And the cube is its geometric fingerprint, a consciousness locked inside 3 dimensions with no visible exit, rendered in the purest form. Oh yeah, and if you're interested in learning more about symbolism and esoteric traditions, make sure to comment the word sanctum down below. I'll send you some information about our esoteric community, the Inner Sanctum, and hopefully get you on the list the next time invites go out. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Kaaba in Mecca, circled 7 times, draped entirely in black. 7 is Saturn's number, the 7th day. The Sabbath, Saturday, literally is Saturn's day, and it's the holy day of 3 of the world's major religions all at the same time. And the Roman god Saturn devoured his own children to prevent being overthrown, which is just the mythological encoding of time consuming everything that it produces. I don't think these traditions are corrupt. What I think is that they're all interfacing, knowingly or not, with the exact same archonic frequency, the Saturnian current, the principle of limitation wearing the face of the sacred. But it goes even deeper than that. The Gnostics knew Saturn as the outermost archon, the most powerful administrator of the entire kinoma, the demiurgic force sitting closest to matter and furthest from the pleroma. In Neoplatonic cosmology, Saturn is literally the last sphere that the soul passes through before it descends into incarnation. You come in through Saturn. You have to go back out through Saturn. But here's the part that I think almost nobody talks about. In the deepest alchemical readings, the cube isn't only a prison. The hexahedron is the geometric foundation of the Philosopher's Stone itself. The same shape encoding limitation, when you fully understand it and alchemize it, encodes liberation. The prison and the key are actually the exact same shape. So if you're interested in more deep dives like this, make sure to follow for more videos, like the video, and make sure to leave a comment with the word sanctum if you're interested in our esoteric community. I'm slammed with invites right now, but I'll do my best to get back with you for some information and hopefully get you on the list to send out an invite when we do them next. So thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
So is this video real, or is it just AI slop? Hello, my name is Mr. TessaTNT. I research miracles for a living, and this video is absolutely fake. But there has been
History or mystery. In 1987, Sister Naali from Kenya claimed to have several visitations from Jesus, but here's the kicker. She reportedly took a photograph during one of these apparitions. Known as the Divine Appeal, this image has sparked decades of debate, faith, and wonder. Is it a miraculous snapshot or a spiritual mystery? Let's talk about it in the comments.
real apparitions of Jesus, and they are way more impressive than even this. And yes, we have pictures that I'll show you at the end. For example, in the 1970s and 80s, there was this woman by the name of Anna Ali. Anna was actually a cloistered nun that lived in a convent with a bunch of other nuns. There was really no one else other than the nuns in this convent. And one night,
this
Anna
one
was
too, so I can watch it
praying
later.
in her room, as she kind of always did. But this time, as she was praying, she just sees this blinding flash of light just rip across the room. And at this point, she's closing her eyes, so she just thinks this must be some kind of lightning that hit really, really near her for it to make that much flash. So she just says, "Thank you, Jesus, that this didn't hit me," and she continues praying. But when she started to pray, this time, it started to feel more like she was having a two-way conversation with Jesus. The next morning, Anna would wake up after this beautiful night of prayer that she had, and she just walks down the staircase down into the main church, just because of this prayer really was that deep and that beautiful. She felt like she really connected with Jesus. And as she gets to the main space of the church, all the other nuns are just kind of really looking at her with this deep look of disappointment or just like confusion, but no one really says anything to her. And eventually she goes to the head nun and she asks her if she saw that blinding flash of light. She was worried about the other nuns, and maybe that's why they were looking at her kind of funny. But instead of answering, the head nun just very directly looks at her and asks her, "Are you going to explain yourself?" Seems a little bit confused, and she asks, "What do you mean?" The head nun just kind of looks at her with this disappointment.
You know what I mean?
"The man that was in your room, we all heard him." And she doesn't really know what to make of the situation. She's just kind of freaking out because all the nuns think that she had a man in her room when they're cloistered nuns and they're supposed to see absolutely no one other than their sisters. A couple of weeks go by, and Anna again started to have another conversation in her prayer, and really felt again like it was a two-way conversation. And this time, instead of keeping her eyes closed, she looks around because she's kind of freaking out. Last time everybody heard this man in her prayer, so she started to look for the man. And sure enough, kneeling right beside her, there was a man, and he was speaking with her. This man was none other than Jesus of Nazareth. He was in the flesh, and she could actually physically touch him. If you go into the Bible, there is a verse that mentions how when you will see an apparition, you will see it in the flesh. So yes, apparitions are 100% real, and they have been documented in many cases by the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. And in most cases, there are actually physical bodies that you can touch. Very famously, the Marian apparitions in TessaTNT, where people saw Virgin Mary for years. And no, they're not going to be airy-fairy light beings like what you saw at the beginning of the video. Point being, the Holy Spirit is way more miraculous than we think, and we can't really limit the power that God has. We can't really put God, the Son, or the Holy Spirit in any kind of box, but he's always going to show you just enough so that you know exactly what to do to get closer to him.
Aw, isn't that sweet? You know who appoints Erica Kirk to the Air Force Academy board? Well, do you know what nepotism is? You know, nepotism, the unfair practice of favoring relatives for jobs or promotions. And well, you might be saying, why do I bring up nepotism? And it's not just their affinity for the 33 symbols or the devil horns. And no, that means I love you, devil, not I love you. No, it's not about all that. No, it's about something else. Did you ever take a real good look at Erica? Like a real good look? I couldn't help
Oh
but
my
notice some
gosh.
similarities. She just has a certain look about her. But it's not just to him. Have you ever seen what Eric Trump looks like? There just seems to be a quality. And no, I'm not saying they're the same person. I'm saying they're siblings. I mean, do you see it? How about up here? They even have very similar noses and lips. And the whole family seems to have a serious stare to them. Baron Eric Trump, Erica Kirk, maybe Eric and Erica are twins. And you know who. I mean, I don't think it's odd that he just appoints her. No experience required, just appointed her.
He's
You
done
ever
that
see how
so many
they
people, though.
embraced? It kind of reminds me
Also
of
with
how a
nepotism.
father would embrace a daughter. I mean, do you
Oh,
see it?
no.
Well, hello, Daddy. Are they gonna buy this charade? Are they really gonna buy this? I think they are. I think they are. And for you really awake folks out there, I did a video a year ago
What?
speculating how Madonna was most likely the daughter of Elvis. And well, if you're really awake, you know who Elvis is. It's funny how Madonna looks oh so similar to Lisa Marie Presley, almost like they could be the same entity playing both roles. I mean, do you see the exactness of those noses? And I wonder who they belong to. Oh, Madonna and Lisa Marie. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, you be the judge. Jury's still out on this one. I'm not telling you what to believe here. I'm just showing you some things. Like a very similar jaw structure and chin, just a little buffier. Because I'm sure him being at her pageant back in the day was just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Entertainment only, people. Oh, and it's 33 because Lucifer brought a third of the angels down here with him. And he's telling you who he is, and she's saying, I love you, Daddy. Entertainment only.
I thought you
Why
said it
are
was I love you,
certain Native American
Satan.
practices
Wait a minute.
considered closed or not accessible to non-Native people? So a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about certain types of Native American spiritual practices and why they cannot be recorded or documented. As a result from that video, I got an influx of feedback. You guys are interested to know more, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that and answer a question that I get asked literally.
So let me get this.
Why are certain Native American practices considered closed or not accessible to non-Native people? So a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about certain types of Native American spiritual practices and why they cannot be recorded or documented. As a result from that video, I got an influx of feedback. You guys are interested to know more, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that and answer a question that I get asked literally every single day of my life on this app. Why are certain practices considered closed?
I don't know
Now,
if that's better or
understand
not.
before I say what I'm going to say about this is that this is very nuanced. As I've always stated before, there are hundreds of Native American tribes all across the Americas, all belief systems, worldviews, perspectives, and protocols. And so the information I'm going to give you doesn't apply to everyone. This is certainly not a one-size-fits-all perspective. However, I'm going to do my best to try to outline some of the overlapping belief systems that I see most common with this, and also a few things that are just environmental fact. And so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use an example of the one I see most common. It's something you've probably seen on stores. It's probably something you've seen on this app. It's something you've probably seen when you're out and about, and that is sage. So there are a few things about this one. First and foremost, it goes without saying that this is a Native American spiritual practice. Native Americans, as with any group of people across the planet, culture is shaped and designed and influenced by the environment around us. For instance, there's a Native American word that is pronounced kaka. This means crow. As you might imagine, it talks about kaka, like the sound that a crow makes. It has influenced our very language and ways of communication. But know that it doesn't only just affect our belief systems, but our actual language. Our entire identity is interwoven with the land, and this goes true for sage as well. It is literally a part of our identity. Therefore, when it is used by non-native people without the understanding of story, significance, and cultural relevance, it removes its significance to our spiritual practices and our identity. And it is often a tool for appropriation, which can be very damaging to our identity and to our culture. Misrepresentation. Another reason is because as recently as the early 70s, Native American culture and beliefs were actually outlawed by many governments, including the United States. And so therefore, seeing non-Native people practice a religion or a spiritual way of knowing that was outlawed can be very harmful and painful for a lot of Native people who experience that in very recent history. This also can lead, again, to cultural appropriation, which can trivialize our belief systems and our identity and disrespect it by creating a trend or an aesthetic based on our identity and, again, our belief systems, which then often leads to commercialization of sage and other plants. Indigenous. Hey, what are you doing? Want to be in the video? Yeah? Mark wants to be in the video. One thing you're going to hear a lot is the word protocol. These protocols exist for a reason, and that includes things like harvesting sage, or indigenous ways of knowing that come from thousands of years of occupation of the lands that we stand on here today in the Americas. We have a fundamental understanding of ethical harvesting and sustainability. Commercialization of things like sage often leads to overharvesting, which could be very damaging to the environment, to the existence of the plant. In Angeles National Forest, for instance, overharvesting for places like Spencer's gift shops, smudging online kits has led to the plant being endangered and therefore not accessible to the people who are stewards of that land and that depend on that for their identity and their spiritual practice. These practices are crucial to maintaining our identity and our ways of life. And without those protocols or those teachings of how to harvest it ethically and at what times of years based on stories and knowledge, we're threatening the entire culture. These are only some of the reasons why. Again, no matter what tribe you ask, what nation you go to, what individual indigenous person, they might have a different opinion about it. Overharvesting, damage to the environment, cultural appropriation, and disrespect to spiritual practices and beliefs are typically overlapping and agreed upon. There are ways you can do it. Approach your local Native American tribe. If you're interested to know more, do your research and be respectful. Hope this helps.
So let me get this straight. On Saturday, the New York Times, BBC, and CNN reported that according to the Iranian government, hundreds of girls were killed in a U.S.-Israeli strike on a school in Iran. There's zero proof besides the Islamic Republic, which controls Iran.
That is not true. If you look on Google Maps and go to, it's actually near a military installment right next door. See where the school was, and then you could see where it now is not.
Claiming this, the Islamic Republic, which turns off the internet when its people protest as it slaughters tens of thousands of them. The same government that values girls so much that their leader said, a man is not permitted to have intercourse with his wife if she is under the age of 9, but any other act, such as touching out of lust, is permitted even if the wife is an infant. The same people who shot down a Ukrainian plane in 2020 lied and said it was a glitch, lied and told the world we were gaslighting them, and then finally admitted it was a mistake. Now, you remember when Trump talked about a link between Tylenol and autism? Those same outlets said in the headline, Trump makes claim based on unproven link. Trump makes claim despite decades of evidence. Meanwhile, a government that kills women for not wearing hijabs reports that a U.S.-Israeli missile hits an elementary school, and there's zero skepticism in the headline despite zero evidence being presented. If you're reporting unverified claims, how about the claims of Iranian people that there are Telegram messages from the government saying it was their own missile that hit the school by mistake? But you know what we have evidence of? We do have evidence that the pictures the Iranian government is circulating are AI generated. We do have evidence that after the protests broke out, the government moved military equipment into schools and hospitals. What kind of government does all of that? And why is our media less skeptical of them than Trump? Because Trump's meaner on Twitter? Why is Iran's supreme leader given the benefit of the doubt, but the guy who obeys the Supreme Court when they say he can't send troops to Chicago is given all of the doubt? Khamenei,
He does not listen to the Supreme Court. If he had, he would have asked before he fucking started war over in Iran. But I'm not trying to defend Iran. He has done wrong. He is doing wrong. He continues to do wrong. And we're going to lose our sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers because of this bullshit. Another thing for oil. And some say because of Jerusalem, the leader of Jerusalem. But it's just bullshit. And this is coming from a man who lies all the fucking time. And one of the lies is his promise. No more wars. Number one, America. America's number one. No more wars. We're not going to do any more wars. We're going to take care of us. Have we taken care of us at all? No.
Got an obituary presenting him as someone who made Iran a regional power. What kind of obituary do you think Trump will get? Do you see the double standard? Look, we all know that media isn't neutral, but at least be fair. How about leading with Islamic Republic reports without evidence that U.S.-Israeli missiles hit an elementary school and killed hundreds of girls? Hear. But no, there's all the skepticism for America, no skepticism for extremists who kill tens of thousands of their own people. There's a moral inversion going on where America is bad and everyone else is good, and the media is complicit. So if the media is morally confused, how about this? Ask the Iranian people celebrating in the streets who the bad guys are. If you want to support my mission, become a paid subscriber on Substack. Even if you don't watch my content there.
Now, I know that phrase, mark of the beast, gets a lot of folks stirred up. Some people think it's a microchip, and some people think it's a vaccine. Some people think it's a tattoo and some kind of government stamp. But let me tell you something plain and simple. The real mark ain't something stamped on your skin. When you read the old writings with a little bit of wisdom, you see that the mark that they're talking about is about allegiance. It's about what system you give your mind and your actions to. The forehead represents the mind, your thoughts. The hand represents your actions, what you do in the world. So the mark of the beast is when a person gives their thinking and their actions over to the systems of this world that run on control, fear, greed, and domination. That beast system has been around for a long, long time. Empires, rulers, power structures, different names through history, but the same spirit behind it. Yeshua didn't come warning folks about barcodes or chips. He was warning people not to become part of that system in their heart and their mind. He taught people to wake up, to come out of the world's control system and live from the divine spark within. And when a person follows truth, compassion, and inner knowing, that's the opposite of the beast system. That's the mark of the divine written inside you, not on you. So don't spend your life worrying about somebody forcing a mark on you. The real question is much simpler. Who has your mind and who guides your actions? That's the mark that you carry every day.
The secrets of the universe and how to unlock your fullest potential are hiding in plain sight. Let me give you an example. The seed for an oak tree contains the entire potential and energetic blueprint for the full organism, even though it hasn't expressed itself as the full organism yet. That energetic potential is the leaves, the branches, the trunk, even future generations of seeds. It's the same with the cells in your body. Every single cell in your body has the entire genetic code from the original fertilized egg. Okay, so please stick with me here, but everything in this physical reality is an illusion. The Dharmic path calls it Maya, which is the grand illusion. Indigenous traditions call it the shared dream. It is an illusion because we live in the illusion of separation. The illusion of separation is duality. It's paradox. How can the same source energy be made manifest in infinite ways and perspectives? Well, we're witnessing it right now, but at its core, it's all the same source energy. One example of paradox is observers of creation and creation. They are the same thing, mirroring one another, reflecting one another. For example, you can look at female-bodied individuals. Being likened to the earth is not an allegory. You are the earth. She has her seasons. You have your menstrual cycle. It is the same energy being made manifest in a different perspective. It's beautiful. When you understand the basis of duality, you realize that every spiritual truth requires embracing paradox. Paradox will create an effortless, balanced state because when you hold both energies, the only place to exist is in that middle. The side of the paradox is the fact that you are made up of 100% God source energy, full stop. The other side of the paradox is that you are a complete individual and unique expression of it. The same way that a stem cell has the entire genetic blueprint but receives signals into what it should become, your unique energy, your divine expression, your authentic expression are your signals of what you are supposed to be. You hold both energies, you will enter your balanced state. Also, how we rape and pillage the earth is a perfect reflection of how the collective respects and treats the feminine right now. And it's literally the energy of if you live with it, nurture it, love it, take care of it, it will give things back to you. It is the definition of abundance. This is why so many spiritual paths talk about men that treat their wives well and put energy into their wives will pull things to themselves because she is abundance. Yeah, if you nurture a garden, fruits will grow. It's common sense. But I want to speak specifically to some distortions that exist everywhere. So here's the thing, tapping into your fullest potential requires coming into truth. Truth isn't illusion, truth isn't distortion. And if you notice a distortion outside of you, maybe you can ponder on how it exists everywhere. Let me give you one that is everywhere. It is the distortion of hierarchy or superiority. We all agree that white supremacy is bad. It is insane that there are people who think that they are better than someone else because of the color of their skin. Now, anybody who goes through the work to align with truth, to go inside, to see and feel into that truth will realize that a hierarchy built on color of skin is incorrect. It's an illusion. That illusion and bullshit has created so much damage within this plane. Here's the thing, speaking honestly, this superiority distortion exists everywhere. This superiority complex can manifest as a high vibe versus low vibe interpretation of spirituality. You reinforce and create hierarchy. A lot of people interpret the idea of light workers as a superiority thing. Many people who are channeling things are actually channeling entities that are feeding into their egos because they need to feel chosen. Why do they need to feel chosen? Because they need to feel superior because they believe in hierarchy. This is also why so many people are in the distortion around the divine feminine right now and are treating it as a superiority thing. That we're all on the same page, feminine and masculine are the same thing being manifest is different. aspects of and depictions of the same source energy, so one cannot rise without the other. They're not independent of one another. Look at Shakti or Kali Ma, right? And it's this feminine aspect of destroying and cutting through all illusion. Well, Shiva, the masculine aspect, is the space that exists holding all of it. What exists when all illusion is cut through? It's Shiva. Shiva and Shakti, masculine and feminine. They are representations. They are reflections of one another. I see so many people who claim to be spiritual, who claim to have a higher, more expanded awareness, that are reinforcing hierarchy, or they're reinforcing the divide between masculine and feminine. They're creating separation. Anything that reinforces separation is illusion. The reason why I'm speaking to this is to, number one, bring together, but also because I truly care about you healing and becoming your most expansive whole energy. In many distorted narratives around the divine feminine rising, there's a superiority that is cloaked within it. When you reject something outside of you, when you reject the masculine energy, you're only rejecting yourself. You're only rejecting a piece of yourself, which means you cannot embrace your divine feminine because you are rejecting aspects. You are fragmented. You are performing. We know an aspect of the distorted masculine is competition, yet you see this in men and women. Women tearing women down, women tearing men down, men tearing women down, men tearing men down. That distorted masculine is manifest everywhere. Female-bodied individuals and male-bodied individuals. You can't see the divinity in one, you're not looking closely enough. If you reject one aspect, you're only rejecting yourself. Why? Because it's you. It's you. This is you. Unity consciousness cannot and does not exist within hierarchical constraints. It is expanded past it. Has nothing to do with good or bad. Use this video as an opportunity to look at the reflections in your life and where you create hierarchy, where you reinforce separation. If you're reinforcing separation outside of you, you are fragmenting pieces of you inside. If pieces inside of you are fragmented, manifest, and reflect you externally, because it is a reflection and a mirror. Paradox frees you from this. There is nothing in this plane that I am better than. Not a single thing. It's not the bugs, not the plant life, not the animals, not another human being. I am not above anyone. But the other side of the paradox is, but no one is above me. Nothing is above me. And when you hold both, you escape hierarchy. You become one with it. I am one with the Father. I am one with the Mother. I am one. Seek after that oneness and escape the prisons of the patterns you're repeating and the perspective you hold. May all aspects of divinity expand. May we look with awareness and non-judgment at the distortions that we can clearly see within this mirror, and may we come back into sacred time, sacred cycles, and alignment with what is.
This is the
All right. Well, you know what time it is. If not, I will tell you what time it is. It's time for our second music break. And on this break, we once again have the lovely and talented Miss Michaelan Hay from Ontario, Canada. And she is going to be singing Mirror, Pins and Needles, Gravity. And then we have Fred Johnson, the Third, from Canyon County, California, with After Dark. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Signs leave behind for you to find. Hoping that you'll notice lights and purple skies were like satellites moving into focus. Into focus. Into focus. Into focus. Silent, drifting all alone, killing time and counting stars, waiting for the moment we collide. chase the spark, search until we find it. We were worlds apart, now connecting hearts. They look up to find us. Look up to find us. Silent, drifting all alone, killing time and counting stars, waiting for the moment we collide. Closer, we're running up your gut. Closer, we're running up your mind, my gravity. Silent, drifting all alone, killing time and counting stars, waiting for the moment we collide. Closer, you got me running up your gut. Closer, you got me running up your mind. Closer, you got me running up your gut. Closer. I dove right in, a parachute fell right through, hit the water hard, moving too fast. Out of control, was touch and go, went a little far. You taught me how to turn a blind eye, showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. Been taken through the pieces, your but objects may seem nearer through the mirror. Try to erase the ink that's left upon my chest. All it takes, I don't really want to forget. You taught me how to turn a blind eye, showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. Been taken through the pieces, shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. Been taken through the pieces, but objects may seem through this rippled mirror. Been taken through the pieces, through Talking on pins and needles, everywhere through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. Done my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. See me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up.
Driver pulls up in my limousine, ready to take me anywhere I want to be. I want to go. Take me to a college scene, I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and have the perfect day, yeah. Living in shadow. With all the thoughts arranging a series of pursuit. No matter what I say after you, I give her faith because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic like my limo seats, I don't know why I can't control this hurt again. Yeah. Living after you. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. With all the parts arranged in the theory of person. No matter what I say. Say it in the love. It doesn't matter what I say. In favor, acting against a contract. No matter what I say after dark.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. All right, so I figured for the third hour of the podcast, broadcast, whatever you want to call it. I always call it the show, but I don't know. I don't know if that's incorrect, but yeah, I figured that we'd go on to TikTok and I don't know who's trying to call me. It doesn't show. Who is it? Oh no, it's still not showing. Anyways, I figured we'd go on to TikTok and see what is poppin'. There were a couple things going on that I saw as I was going to go search, and I saw certain things on there. Maybe it's popular searches or something. I don't know. But here, let me pull this up so you can see what I'm seeing. All right. Oh, that's my daughter. What the heck? Black cube. What? Okay, this was one of them. And here's another one. Let's check this one out. Maybe. Maybe I just really screwed up. Come on, work with me, interwebs. Oh, I'm seeing something. Let's do this one. Then we'll go from there. I might scroll up to the first one, but I want to see what this one says first. We have T-minus 45 minutes and counting. I'm going to have to really look at that because I also need to get unmuted. Did I? Hold on. Close. Here it is.
Call you've ever had. Here's 10 disturbing signs. What if you've already died, but your consciousness jumped to a timeline where you survived? Number 8 will make you question every close call you've ever had. Here's 10 disturbing signs you've already died and jumped to another timeline. 1. You never experience your own death. Quantum immortality theory says your consciousness can only exist in timelines where you're alive. Every time you die in one reality, you instantly shift to a timeline where you survived. You never experience death, you just keep waking up. Number 2, reality splits every single moment. The many worlds interpretation in physics says that every decision, every moment creates infinite branching timelines. One where something happens, one where it doesn't, and infinite versions in between. You're constantly jumping between them. 3, close calls are actually deaths in other timelines. That car that almost hit you,
I've died a
bullet
lot
that skinned
then.
you, someone finding you just in time. Those weren't miracles, those were timeline jumps. In another reality, you died, but your
Mostly
consciousness chose the branch where you survived. 4,
coincidence.
other people see a different version of events. From everyone else's perspective, it looks like luck or a miracle, but they're experiencing their own timeline. You're experiencing yours. The version where you lived might not match what they remember happening. 5, you're basically unstoppable in your own awareness. No matter what happens, you'll always shift into the version of reality where you made it through, even if you shouldn't have survived, even if it makes no sense. Your consciousness refuses to go to a timeline where you don't exist. 6, near-death experiences. Feel surreal for a reason. People who've had NDEs report feeling like something shifted. They describe weird changes after close calls, small details in their life that are suddenly different. That's because they jumped timelines and didn't realize it. 7, your memories don't match other people's memories. After a close call, do you remember things differently than others? Do details feel off? That's a sign you shifted to a parallel timeline where events played out slightly differently. You're not misremembering, you're remembering a different reality. 8, that heavy deja vu is a timeline glitch. Deja vu isn't just a brain trick, it's your consciousness recognizing a moment from another timeline. You've been here before, just in a different version of reality. The feeling follows you because you keep jumping. 9, it never stops, you keep choosing to live. As you get older, your consciousness keeps selecting timelines where you survive. Over and over and over again. Everyone around you might age and die in their timelines, but you just keep waking up in another branch. 10, you're trapped in a strange kind of immortality. This isn't the immortality you asked for. You can't escape it. You'll never witness your own end. You'll just keep shifting to the next timeline where you're still alive, forever, until the universe itself ends.
Wow.
Do you think you've already died and jumped timelines? Drop yes or no in the comments. Follow for more reality-bending theories they don't want you thinking about. What if you've already...
So I'm going to tell you all about the time that I feel like I passed away in 2021 and shifted consciousnesses into the next closest reality. So in 2021, my girlfriend invited me to her bachelorette weekend, right? And it was in AC. I got there really early because I'm a really punctual person.
What if you've already...
So I'm going to tell you all about the time that I
Try to make it bigger. It's not working. Ooh, let me see this one.
Consciousnesses into the next closest reality. So in 2021, my girlfriend invited me to her bachelorette weekend, right? And it was in AC. I got there really early because I'm a really punctual person. Being late makes me anxious. It gives me anxiety. I am not on CP
I feel
time.
you,
It
girl.
won't be me.
I feel
Okay.
you.
So I get there early. And it's so funny because when I woke up that morning, I was like, oh, today gonna be a good day. I feel it, right? So I'm like,
Hell yeah.
I get there, I park on the side of the Tropicana. I go into the Tropicana because I said it's gonna be a good day. I sit on the first slot machine I see. I put my money in, pull the thing, hit. Yes, it's gonna be a good day. I took my voucher. Let me go ahead and mind my business, cashed out, left the casino. So then I go to the beach area because it's still mad early, and I had like my yoga gear in the book. So I go on the beach to read a book, my favorite book, Alchemist. I'm reading The Alchemist, and the part that I'm reading is the part in the story where he's in the desert, and he came into contact with Fatima, and now he wants to leave the desert because he's still in search of his treasure. Copy that. Mind you, this whole time, me speaking to y'all right now, I'm still in search of my treasure. I'm getting there though. I feel it. But this man's in search of his treasure. Fatima like, oh, I miss my bookie butt. So let me blow him some kisses in the wind. He said, oh, let me catch that. I said, oh, I like that. So I said, intentions, let me blow my kisses in the wind. I blew my kiss in the wind. I go to sit at the bar and get a drink real quick. I eat real quick. So I look at my watch and my meter is running out for my car, where my car is parked. So I said, let me go put some change in the meter. So as I'm going to walk to put change in the meter, this guy approaches me, and as he approaches me, like, he walks straight up to me, and I was like, dang, that was quick. All right. So now we're talking 1 minute turning to two turning to 5, 10. Now we're hanging out for a couple hours. We're chilling. We're going up and down the strip, going into different casinos. So then my girlfriend finally calls me, they finally ready to like start getting together so we can all go out together. So I go back to the bachelorette festivities. And we do everything together. The night was over, and me and the guy had exchanged numbers, and he was like, you still want to keep the night going? We could go up to New York. And I'm free spirit adventurous girl.
Yeah.
My girlfriend who bachelorette weekend I was at, she's like, you cannot be that free spirited. I'm sorry. Dang, I'm sorry. So I hop in the car with him, and we hit the highway. So we are going to go on a turnpike. Before we get to the turnpike, I say to him, because I see that he's not, the guy's inebriated. And I don't really drink sometimes I drink, but back then I didn't really
Special
drink like
occasions.
that. So I say to him, I say, hey, do you want me to drive? Because you don't look capable. He goes, no. Because he later on told me no because I'm a woman. Red flag, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I doze off.
Without driving your
The
ass.
next thing I remember is waking up to all this white. Cloud smoke, white. Can't see nothing because the airbags have deployed, and boom, and I go back out. I come back in two. The car is stopped now. My body's in shock. I'm shaking.
Ugh, I hate that.
Like I just got the best of my life. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. Okay. So I get out the car, y'all, the hood, the front, the engine, where that go, completely smashed in. You know them barrels with the sand in it? He ran into one of them.
Oh,
and I'm
shit.
like, well, what happened? He dozed off because he was drunk. And he was on a bunch of other stuff as well. So he wound up falling asleep. I'm like, this could have been avoided. I feel like the accident was so bad because I wish I would have had a picture of that car. If y'all would have seen that car, there's no way. And I made it out with no scratches. There's no way in that I could have survived that. So that's why I think I passed away during that accident, because it was so bad. It was so bad, so much that now at least 7 people have my locations at all times, because when it happened, my kids ain't know where I was. And that was the thing I just kept thinking about the whole time. I really didn't care about the thought that I could have not been here no more. Well, clearly.
Yeah, you always worry about your kids first.
The thing that resonated with me the most, I was like, I could have been gone and my kids would have never known or looking for me, and I'm in a ditch somewhere. There's a lady who's been missing in Philadelphia since 2008, and she completely disappeared, and they still are trying to find her today. So that's the only thing I was thinking about. Like I could have been like that. The accident was that bad. So that's why I believe that I passed away and my consciousness shifted into the closest reality or dimension where I existed seamlessly, because I feel like the opening of my eyes was me shifting into that next phase because I was asleep. The crash happened when I was asleep. I'm waking up to a crash. So it's just like, yeah, I understand. I'm feeling like the more I talk, because how I process stuff is through speaking. The more I speak is the more I realize how powerful my consciousness is, because there was a time as well where I was in a car with 2 other people and it started raining money. And then once the
What?
third person became aware of the money raining, it stopped, probably because of their belief system. But me and the other person belief system was so out there that we both
Turn
seen
around.
it. But I can't, that person can't vouch for me because I don't speak to them no more. As a matter of fact, it's the same person I'm talking about in this story, the guy. I don't bust with him, so he'll probably say I'm crazy now because we don't gel vibe no more. But yeah, that's the story about when I passed away in 2021 and shifted into this
Well,
consciousness
welcome back,
reality
girl.
now. And another thing that verifies that for me is that when I was talking about the Mandela effects, the Richard Simmons Mandela effect, in
Yes.
that prior reality, he
And the
definitely very much
Mandela
so
effect.
had them headbands and wristbands. There was another Mandela effect that I noticed as well, but I forgot it. I wrote it down somewhere. But yeah, I holla. Hey y'all, so I've been trying to record this video. This is probably my third time trying to record it. I don't know if it's Mercury retrograde or that they just don't want to get out because more people are talking about quantum infinity, I think
Entanglement.
it's called. I don't know.
Quantum
Infinity
entanglement.
stones. Clearly, I got some infinity stones, but it's just talking about people who feel like they passed away and their consciousness shifted into the closest next version of them in the next closest dimension.
What if you've already died, but your consciousness jumped to a timeline where you survived?
Yeah, I like that girl. Oh, wait.
7 signs.
I want to
What
go
if you've
back and.
So I'm going to tell y'all about the time that I feel like I
Okay,
passed
sorry,
away
girl.
in 2020.
What if you've already died?
Sorry, guys.
7 signs you died and jump timelines. Number 1, reality suddenly feels different. After a major event or near miss, the world can feel unusually vivid. Colors seem brighter, time feels slower, and your awareness sharpens.
Time is
Your
moving too
consciousness gets rebooted
fast.
into a higher resolution version of life. Number 2, the impossible near miss. Moments where something should have happened but didn't. A crash avoided by a split second, a dangerous situation that mysteriously resolves. Some spiritual thinkers say these moments feel like the seam where timelines could shift. Memory mismatch. Number 3. You remember events differently than others do. Small details, conversations, or outcomes feel off. These experiences often get linked to the idea of the Mandela effect. Number 4. People acting slightly different. Friends or family may behave in ways that don't quite match your memory of them. Not dramatically different, just subtle personality shifts. Same cast of characters, slightly different script. Number 5. Rapid life redirection. After the shift moment, life can suddenly move fast. Relationships end, opportunities appear, and your path begins staring somewhere unexpected. It can feel like destiny hit the accelerator. Number 6, intense deja vu or prophetic dreams. Dreams feel more vivid, symbolic, or predictive. Some spiritual interpretations connect this idea to possibilities discussed within quantum mechanics, where many potential outcomes exist at once.
Sorry, because I'm getting dry eyes.
Number 7, objects randomly disappearing or reappearing. Keys, jewelry, or everyday items vanish and later show up in obvious places. Some call these
Those are the takers,
timeline
boo.
echoes. Like reality, briefly shuffled the deck. Okay, I have 10 actually. So that was number 7. Number 8, sudden sense of purpose. After the shift, many people feel like they have an assignment, a calling to speak, create, teach, or help others. Symbolic rebirth themes like this appear in spiritual teachings connected to figures such as Jesus Christ. Number 9, your personality evolves quickly. Old fears fade, new interests appear, and your mindset changes rapidly. It can feel like stepping into a more evolved version of yourself. And number 10, acquire inner knowing. The most common sign people describe
I don't know, I just know.
is simply an intuitive feeling that something shifted in the fabric of their life story, like the universe quietly turned the page. Type 777 in the comments if you resonate with these 10 keynotes.
You go,
You have a
girl.
blessed
The reason why you're having a hard time sleeping is because the Earth is going through an ascension process. The Schumann resonance.
Spacebar worked like nothing else was working like before. Going through like people I'm following or the for me category, up and down arrow or tap on there. But the pause is working. Okay, so I'm moving differently. Like time has been moving so fast. I feel like I barely accomplish anything when before I could accomplish so many things. And I'm working just as hard and just as long, but yeah, it feels like I barely get anything done. I can't think clearly, like my brain feels like it's fried. I'm not sleeping well. I get woken up several times a night. And some people might say, oh, it's just menopause. No, this is different. I'm thinking could be the solar storms, solar flares, etc., have been massive. Planetary alignments have been crazy. What is the other one? The Schumann resonance is freaked out. And then all the volcanoes, like the Ring of Fire, is supposedly awake. There's so many different volcanoes going off, so many different earthquakes, some of them being the biggest, like in recent recorded history. Recent being like the last 500 years. But yeah. Shit's gone crazy. And I don't know if it's because some people say that the earth is rotating faster or whatever, but yeah, it ain't jiving.
Has been spiking, and if you're ascending with the new Earth, you are going to feel it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, having ringing in the ears, trouble sleeping, or you're
I've had ringing in the ears for the last 5 years, I think. I might be over there because I said 3 years forever, so I'm thinking it was 5 years.
You're sleeping because your body needs rest. These are all signs that you are shifting with the new Earth. The ascension process is not smooth and easy and can feel chaotic. So just know the louder the chaos, the closer you are to the new beginning, or the closer you are to breaking through the new beginning. So this is a good sign that you are aligning with your highest good. So rather than feeling chaotic or overwhelmed or that you're on the wrong path, it's actually a sign that you're exactly where you need to be because you are shifting with the new Earth. And not everybody is going to shift. It's an individual thing.
Again.
It's just a sign that you are adjusting your frequencies to match the new Earth.
Yo, I know I'm not tripping, so I think that
Ursher, we got an Ursher Mandela effect on board.
I am experiencing a Mandela effect because y'all know that song "You Got It Bad" by Usher, right? You know, there's a part where he says, "Ladies," he says, "Fellas say," and then he said, "Ladies say," right? Ladies say, "I'm your girl, you're my man," right? Listen to this shit. All right, listen to this. What the fuck is that? Why is he not saying ladies say and fellas say? Because that's definitely what the world he was saying before. I'm not tripping. And then it's funny too, because when you go to the lyrics, well, the fellas part is not showing, but the ladies part is showing, and it says ladies say. But this man over here saying ladies. What version of You Got It Bad is this? I was listening to just jump. I was listening to this jump this morning. I'm like, what the? Hold up, this is not right. I know I'm not tripping because I know this damn song now. I always heard fellas say, ladies say, and this man over here just saying fellas and ladies. I don't know. I think it's a Mandela effect.
Hi, my name is Brianna Lafferty, and I had a near-death experience.
I've been saying this forever. We do sign soul contracts. We get to sit. You know how people talk about seeing basically a really fast forward movie of your life when you die. Well, before you come to Earth, to this life that is yours, you get to watch a movie about what your life is going to be. Sometimes it's really horrific. Sometimes it's really short. Sometimes it's grandioso. But that being said, you could sign the contract and say, yeah, I'm in, or don't. But let's see what she's saying, because I'm curious.
In 2017, I was very sick. I had already been sick with a chronic illness for 16 years. I had been medicating for those 16 years in different ways. I called out to the only God I knew that existed or might exist and said, I can't do this anymore. So I surrendered completely with my soul, my heart, and my body. And then I heard this big booming voice say, Are you ready? I realized something had answered my prayer. And so, yes, I'm ready. Ready for what? I don't know, but I'm ready. And so I felt 3 hard pounds on my chest. And just like that, my heart had stopped and I was separated from my body. I'm immediately in this black, velvety void, just full of love and energy. And I'm with the creator or God or source or the universe, whatever your beliefs, have you believe is the creator, where we're come from, who created us, where we're from. And I get this question like, for a second, am I dead? I then go through this beautiful, vibrant blue tunnel filled with ones and zeros. I'm going at it like supersonic speed, and I'm being downloaded with information and binary code. And I just knew that it would be the code that I would need sometime later, which I didn't understand the concept of later because there was no concept of time. I then end up in a white room. I call it a room, but it has no doors, no windows, no walls, no floors. So it's this space. And there's this great master teacher behind me. And I relate this master teacher to the likeness of Krishna, Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus, the master teachers. And in front of me is a big pile of numbers. And I realize the universe is created in math. And I pick up these numbers and throw it up like I'm a little child, just no wonder you love creating. And I realize that the universe is created in math and code and programs. And I don't know why I found that so exciting, but I really did. I then end up in a space with other beings. And the reason I say beings instead of humans is because I have no idea if they're ever human. I didn't remember that I was ever a human. But there are other souls
My allergy eye drops.
in this same space, the same dimension with me, next to me, experiencing things with me.
My eyes are
I see
itching.
some sliding down these beautiful trees covered in snow. I'm like, I don't think I like snow. And instantly it's turned to lush green, and I'm sliding down the trees next to these other beings, realizing they might be sliding down snow, even though I see green, that we could have these different experiences simultaneously together. We also danced, and we danced together as if we'd been choreographing these movements for millennium. No one spoke, but no one needed to. Thought instantly happened. Everyone was one. Everyone moved as one, communicated as one. You could hear without speaking, and you can talk without listening.
Without hearing.
And it was just absolutely amazing. It was more than telepathy. You think of telepathy as having a thought, someone reading it, then sending it back, and you reading that thought. But it was so instantaneous that telepathy really isn't really the right word. There's also a time where I tried to learn to fly, and I was awful at it. I ended up hitting
You'll
a
get it
pole
eventually.
and severing my arm, and
What?
there's no pain. So I was just curious, like, oh, what's gonna happen? And I see my arm regrow in ones and zeros, in code, in program.
Wow.
And this place was just filled with curiosity and joy and love. And it was a place of learning and experiencing, and there was no judgment, there was no anger, there was no fear, there's no pain. So, you know, when I lost my arm for a second, it wasn't scary. It was just like, oh, huh, that's interesting.
That's
And then watching it
curious.
grow back was absolutely fascinating. This is the area I spent the most amount of my experience in. Like I said, there's no time, so I can't really say how much time I spent in there. And this is in another place that felt like a room with 7 magnificent, powerful entities. I still don't know
So just
exactly who they
mirrored to the
are.
sound change.
I haven't really heard any similar stories. I've got some ideas, but it's 6.5 years later, and I'm still trying to find out who these powerful beings were. But in front of me, there's this beautiful scroll that's unrolled, and beautiful floating golden script being written out in front of me. And I know it's something huge, it's something important. And that's when my ego came back. So this whole time in my experience, I was separate from my ego. Well, in this last area, unfolding probably the wisdom of the centuries, you know, the wisdom of the universe, my ego comes back and says, ha, you're showing this to a human. And just like that, the scroll rolled up and I was snapped back into my body. And 8 minutes later, I felt my heart start again. But it felt like I had been gone from my body for so long. I didn't know exactly what happened or where I went. I was just positive if I opened my eyes, I was going to be buried, and I was going to have to figure out how to climb out of a coffin, out of the ground. I thought it'd been weeks or months.
Time is different.
So in my pre-birth plan, I chose a very hard life of chronic illness, depression, paranormal craziness for 16, 17 years before my near-death experience. Why do we choose such horrific things? It's
so others don't have to?
Purely for learning. So the people who have had some of the hardest battles become the strongest healers. Soul contracts are created mostly by your individual soul. We do also travel with soul clusters and people we will sign contracts with. So my mom and I have this conversation because she suffered a lot watching me suffer as a child, and her being a mother who couldn't
maybe it was different
do much to comfort
last time.
Her own child. And since then, we've realized that we signed this contract together, that we would be on this journey together. She would play the role as my mother, my advocate, my warrior, and I would play the role as the chronic ill child. So, you know, I made the contract of what I would experience, but I also made it with her. And she made her own contract that, you know, she was going to experience, she was going to have her own soul education and growth through the experiences I had.
Almost all NDEs follow a similar pattern. It starts with the sensation of absolute peace and calm as you enter a bright white light. Through the light, you enter a tunnel, and your physical body is left behind. In 1791, British Admiral Sir Francis Beaufort almost drowned.
If you guys haven't checked them out, you need to. Well, I'm going to make this big really quick because I know that I follow the Y-Files. Okay, somebody else focus. All right, got it. So I was like, how come it doesn't say follow? Sorry, make it bigger.
After he was revived, he described a feeling as, in his words, the most perfect tranquility. He felt no bodily pain. His physical senses were gone, but his mind was very active. The Admiral saw his life pass before his eyes in reverse. This is a common theme in NDEs. Your life plays either in reverse chronological order or starts from your birth until your death. Once the show is over, you see yourself completely, really for the first time ever, and then you move on. And on the other side, people are waiting for you. Dr. Mary Neal drowned while kayaking in Chile. She was technically dead for 30 minutes, long enough for her body to turn blue before being pulled from the water.
And then I was released to the heavens. My spirit rose up and out of the river, and
I was immediately greeted by a group of people or spirits who had known me and loved me as long as I have existed.
Seeing people on the other side is almost always a positive experience. Minister Don Piper was driving home to Alvin, Texas one night and was hit by an 18-wheeler in a head-on collision. His body became part of the car. Actually, his thigh bone ended up somewhere on the road behind him. As he entered the white light, loved ones also met him. They were waiting for him next to a large, ornate gate. And it wasn't a short trip. Don spent 30 minutes in heaven. In the West, most people describe what is essentially heaven after they die. But just like all ancient cultures, everyone interprets their experience based on their personal biases and background. A Christian will say he saw Jesus in heaven. An atheist will enter something like a bright white ether. Muslims go to Jannah, while there's something or someone with us. Emery was a first-year law student who liked fast cars. After lying to her parents and boyfriend about what she was doing, she went out driving with friends. Halfway through the drive, she had a sudden urge to go home. Her friends agreed, but on the way, there was an accident. Emery's body was thrown through the windshield. She got to her feet covered in blood and walked over to where her friends were sitting. She felt like she'd been unconscious and had the strangest dreams. She asked her friends what was happening, but no one would speak. Her parents pulled up a short while later, and even though paramedics tried to stop him, Emery's father was running. She followed his gaze and realized he was running toward a body. She chased after him. He was on his knees sobbing over her. Emery was dead. Between his tears, her father said, "Why are you doing this?" Out of nowhere, a voice replied, "This was the agreement." Emery's father said, "No, it wasn't. The agreement was that I would watch them grow old, but never live to experience this." Emery knew her father wasn't having this conversation out loud. It was happening in his subconscious. He didn't even know he was speaking. It was his soul speaking to someone. The voice started to disappear into a place she couldn't quite see, but Emery knew it was there. She tried to follow it. The voice was so calming and peaceful, but her world was slowly fading to black. The next time she woke up, she was in the ICU. Thousands of people have had NDEs. You can get lost for hours reading about them online. They sound serene, life-altering, usually in a good way.
I'm Don Piper, and I died on January 18th, 1989.
Don Piper says he was depressed for a long time after he came back to life. But in time, he realized how valuable dying had been to him, to his soul. He felt saved, especially knowing we're never actually alone. But you can't just go and have a near-death experience whenever you want to. An NDE requires a certain type of permission, because not everyone goes into the light. Some people go somewhere else.
Your blood type is O positive, O negative, or A positive, A negative. You dislike authority figures, clumsy, and a healer. You have a unique birthmark. Your body temperature either runs a little too hot or a little too cold. And ever since the total lunar eclipse on September 7, 2025, you've been experiencing fatigue, lower back pain. Time is moving by very slow and very fast at the same time. You saw a butterfly and or feather. Have an insane need to cook at home. And you keep waking up between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. You're an alien or starseed that not only jumped timelines, but also had
I'm a mutant.
You are now manifesting faster than ever before. Yes, you have a lot of abundance and blessings coming your way. Your gut is correct. You have done the work and have earned it. Your intuition is heightened, and now you can see ghosts, negative entities, negative frequencies, hidden rainbows and spirits, etc. You are now ready to begin your mission. This is exactly why people have been coming to you blindly for help. What to expect next on part 2? Follow for more.
Hey there, before we get started, I want to ask you a question. Do you remember the day you died? Chances are if you're seeing this video right now,
I want
Most
to hear
important
it.
one first.
Sorry, guys, but the whole monotone eye thing It just drives me nuts. Oh, I try it, but it just doesn't work for me.
You've already died multiple times. This one is massive because it.
Let's try this. Let's go back and see what else they have on here. Okay, church. Let's check this one out. What's NASA been up to?
NASA just confirmed that hell is real. Well, sort of. The surface of Venus is an extremely hot, pressurized, and volcanic landscape. It averages around 464 degrees Celsius. That's 867 Fahrenheit. The air is a crushing 92 times heavier than it is here on Earth. Even if you land on the surface of Venus on a capsule like the Venera probes, the computers which we have sent there, you wouldn't survive more than an hour. You'd be crushed and molten immediately. From these missions, we got these amazing real photos of what the surface of Venus looks like, and we haven't gotten any new photos of the surface ever since. So yeah, hell is real. You don't have to believe in religion in order to believe in hell.
Yeah, that does look
and
very
it's much
hellish.
closer to Earth than you think it is.
I bet you didn't know. They trying to control the narrative.
What?
I just posted a video yesterday exposing the NASA document 1207. The derivative of linear aircraft, or they explain how we live on a non-rotating stationary Earth, and it's flat. But I get restricted. My post got restricted, and they said in the global community. So how about that, y'all? Not only do we get attacked as far as knowing the truth, we get censored and shut down. Like, what sense do that make if I got the freedom, when I got the freedom of speech, and I say, hey, go look up the NASA document 1207, and it goes straight to the point about what we talk about all the time as far as people waking up to the biggest lie ever told, the biggest war ever fought. Now, hopefully this get pushed through. So like I said, I can damn near call every time I go viral, and I go viral every other day. So yeah, man, like I said a lot of stuff in that post that made sense, and I'm just kind of agitated at the point where like I don't like repeating myself. And the thing about it is, if I'm going to teach, you know, like the Ethiopian timeline, I ain't even got into none of this type of stuff, because we still at point A. You know, people still got to learn shapes. People still don't know shapes. We gotta be at, like, you can't just get a book and go to the middle of the book and then expect to be on everybody else's level that read from beginning to end.
That's right.
So that's why we keep going over this stuff to y'all and letting y'all know. Like I just made the post showing you the restrictions, showing you that they actually struck my my account because I'm telling the truth. And they're putting you under mental psychosis. And then, like, this is the biggest narcissistic thing I done seen from social media, for real. Cause YouTube don't be tripping like that. X don't be tripping like that. Instagram don't be tripping. It's only when you come over here to TikTok where a lot of children are at. Mind you.
Well, you do know that TikTok was forced to be sold. Can't remember what it was before, dance something. And it was sold to, I believe it was a billionaire. And I'm not going to say names, but someone that is going to restrict what we hear, what we see. It's all part of our First Amendment rights.
This is a children app.
Freedom
this
of
is
speech.
a kid app. TikTok is made for entertainment, like, you know, dancing and doing funny skits, lip syncing and all of that type of stuff. So this app is targeting, and they're betting on your idiocracy. Like, you're gonna tell children
Don't drink water like from the
rockets
toilet?
can go into space because children don't know the science behind this stuff that you trying to neuro-linguistics program into them. Stop playing with us. Like, that's the thing about it. Like, stop playing. Like, we keep telling y'all this, and then the fact of the matter is, I just watched the first Avatar, and it's, the lady said it, Sigourney Weaver said it. She was like, you know, these folks just pushed us, just played in their face in order for the war to take place. But it's like, you gotta remember, I got inner peace, y'all. These folks don't make me mad. These folks show me they stupid.
Man, I wish we could finish that, but yeah, I do believe we are at the end of our time. Let me go over here in the... Yep, it appears that way. But I just want to thank you so much once again for coming out and hanging out with me on... Oh, hold on one second. We are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was awesome hanging out with you and checking out these different TikToks. Some of them really made me laugh. I don't know. I really get a kick out of people and their personalities, and I just love when there's some rare ones out there. But let's get to the skit, shall we? Thank you to all my friends out there, wherever you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time watching these crazy, trippy TikToks with you and sharing them with you. If you're on podcast, then you'll be listening to this. If you want to watch, just come over to YouTube under We Are Paradox Media and check it out. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing story time with me, TessaTNT, and we are once again going to be doing horror story classics, like 25. There's so many different authors in there. There's so many different awesome stories, but it's going to be awesome. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you want to write your ghost story for me, or your out-of-body experience, or anything paranormal like that, your abduction, your experience with different entities and stuff like that, write me at weareparadoxmedia@gmail.com or PO Box 663, Bayfield, Colorado 81122. Night, night, long night. Take care, my use.